Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to City Hall, welcome to Council Chambers, and welcome to a meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Wednesday, April 27th, 2005. The City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Meetings are open to the public, and we do invite you to join us. For members of the public unable to attend council meetings, we can be viewed live on your cable station, Channel 35. We can also be viewed live via webcast from the city's homepage or heard via council phone. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Grohl, Han, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Villaraigosa, Weisstein, Padilla, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The council is officially in session. Before beginning with the matters appearing on today's agenda, Councilmember Reyes, did you have, well, first of all, where are you? And I understand you had a little surprise in store for us. Is Mr. Reyes in chambers? If not, then I also know we're awaiting Mr. Weiss's arrival for a presentation this morning. Madam Clerk, let's dispense with consent items.
First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Mr. Zine moves, Ms. Hahn seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Ms. Miskowski moves and Ms. Hahn seconds.
On the regular agenda, Mr. President, do you wish to take up public comment at this time?
We actually have no requests from members of the public. Oh, we do. Let's actually dispense with consent items and return to general public comment.
On the regular agenda, items noticed for public hearings. Items 1 through 5 are building and safety confirmations of assessments. Items 1, 4, and 5, the department has advised that those matters can be confirmed if there are no protests.
Okay, members, items 1 through 5 now before us, and I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council. Public hearings are open and closed. Any objection to continuing item number 2? Seeing none. That item is continued to May 18th. Any objection to receiving and filing item 3? Seeing none, item 3 is received and filed, leaving items 1, 4, and 5. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Next items are also public hearing items 6 through 15, and those are street lighting districts, and the council can open the hearings and continue the hearings and ordinances to May 24th.
Okay, members, items 6 through 15 now before us, and I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. Public hearings are open and without objection continued through May 24th.
Next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 16 through 46.
Numbers 16 through 46 now before us, and public hearings have been held in committee. A motion from the floor would be required to reopen the public hearings. Do we have any requests for specials? Mr. Reyes?
Yes, thank you, Council President. Special 35, please.
35, call special by Mr. Reyes. Madam Clerk, I'd like to call item 28 special. Any other specials? Ms. Hahn? Any other specials?
26.
26,
Yes, thank you.
call special by Ms. Hahn. Any other specials? Seeing none, on the balance of the items, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are approved. Items 16 and 17 are ordinances. They do carry over for a second reading. We're also able to reconsider them today if we do have 12 members present later on in the meeting. Items 37 and 38 forthwith, please. Next item.
Next items, Mr. President, are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 47 through 56. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Without objection, these items are before the City Council today. Items 47 through 56 have not received requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. Public hearings are open and closed. Specials, Ms. Hahn,
49, please.
49, and Mr. Reyes?
Yes, 55 for Councilmember Villaraigosa, please.
55 call special. We do expect Mr. Villaraigosa today. 47 through 56 colleagues. Any other specials? If there's not any other requests for specials, let's open the roll on the balance of the items. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Colleagues, items 57 and 58 are closed session items. We'll hold those on the desk. Next item, please.
On the continuation agenda, item number 59 is an item notice for public hearing, and that's a finding of public convenience or necessity. In Council District 3, a motion is required.
Mr. Zine, do we have a motion, item 59? Mr. Zine. Item 59 is the item we continued from yesterday. Item 59 is the item we continued from yesterday.
Yeah, I'd like to hold it on the desk.
Want to call it special?
Well, yes, for right now.
Okay. Next item, please.
The next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 60 and 61.
Members, items 60 and 61 now before us. Public hearings have been held. A motion from the floor will be required to reopen the public hearing. Any request to call either of these items special? Mr. Garcetti.
There's a technical amendment circling on 61, but if folks are good with it, it's technical in nature, so I'd move
Okay.
it.
Madam Clerk, have we received that technical amendment?
Yes, that's in the process of being distributed.
Okay, then we'll consider without objection item 61 as amended. Any further discussion on 60 and 61? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Item 61 is approved. Item 60 is also an ordinance and carries over for a second reading. Madam Clerk, is that the end of our agenda?
Yes, it is, Mr. President, except for the items called special.
Before coming back to items called special and general public comment, let me recognize Councilmember Reyes at this time.
Good morning, council members. I have a very special group of young students. That's from St. Bernard's Elementary School from Glassell Park. Eric and I keep saying we work seamlessly at the boundaries of our district. This piece was a portion of CD1 back when. Got to do a lot of work with them. And I want to thank Councilman Garcetti for also inviting St. Bernard's and having them here in City Hall with us. And I have two very special people. I have my niece, Gabriela Sanchez, and my nephew, Martin Reyes, who will do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everybody please rise.
Everybody please stand.
Put your right hand on your heart. Ready, begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Smith, I believe, has an introduction today.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. I'm very pleased to introduce to you 60 students, I think it is, 60 students from Haskell Elementary School in the 12th District, and they were with their teacher, Ms. Kidd and Mrs. Barantes today. They're fifth grade students studying government. So they're down here to see how the government of the city of LA works, and they're going to take a tour, and welcome to City Hall, Haskell. All of you stand up and wave for us. You're going to be on TV. There they are, Haskell Elementary School. Now, right up there is the television, so you're going to be on TV tonight on Channel 35 if you get a chance to watch it at home, and those at home are watching it right now. And again, welcome, have a great tour. Thank you. Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And colleagues, we do have a special presentation this morning. Let me recognize Councilmember Weiss and Gruhl at this time. Ms. Gruhl?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues. Mr. Labange, you got a nice smile on your face this morning, Mr. Labange. It's good to see you. And one of the reasons you got a smile on your face is because today is Denim Day in the city of Los Angeles, and we owe an awful lot to the Los Angeles Commission on Assaults Against Women for raising awareness of sexual assaults and for creating this, what is now a tradition, not just in City Hall chambers, but throughout the city of Los Angeles. The message of Denim Day is clear. It's not what you wear, where you work, where you live. how you stay out, whether you stay out late at night, anything that you do, certainly not what you wear. There is absolutely no excuse for sexual assault or rape. There is no such thing as an invitation to sexual assault or rape. And the message of Denim Day comes out of this horrible case that occurred in our times, in modern time, in Italy just a few years ago, where a court ruled that what a woman was wearing was in fact an invitation to sexual assault. This is a day when everybody in Los Angeles stands together to make clear that we strongly disagree. We're here today because of the efforts of the Los Angeles Commission on Assaults Against Women. They do extraordinary work throughout the city of Los Angeles, and they're doing path-breaking work in this country. The executive director is Patty Giggins. She is here with us today with a volunteer from LACAW, Rebecca. They'll be addressing us in a few minutes, but would you please join me in acknowledging Patty, LACAW, and the extraordinary work they do. It's just... Councilmember Gruhl and Councilmember Perry are longtime supporters of LACAW, and they're going to address us now.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. And for those of you that are watching today in City Council, you'll see that many of us are wearing jeans or jean jackets, some form of denim, to say we support the efforts of LACAW and particularly support the rights of women to not have sexual assault against them or rape. Just last week, Mr. Cardenas donned high heels for an effort for the trauma center in the organization Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, which was similarly an effort to educate people about it is not okay. And actually, I'm going to bring someone on Friday. One of our DOT officers that day when we were standing out there on Saturday asked if it would be okay if he put on high heel shoes in the middle of the intersection to support the efforts. And so his supervisor and I gave him the okay to do that. But what we're trying to do with Denim Day today is to educate people, to talk to their sons and their daughters, their friends, their coworkers, to say it is not okay to have sexual assault and for us to speak out against rape. In 2004, 2,586 women were raped in LA County. And though this number seems outrageous, this number only reflects 61% of the rapes that occurred. And that is our biggest challenge, to break that silence. And so we want to make sure that people understand they should report rape, they should report any kind of assault, because we must stop that here in Los Angeles County and across the country. So I'm pleased to stand here today with the Los Angeles Commission on Assaults Against Women and Paula Petrata from our own Commission on the Status of Women to say that we will support you and help stop this violence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gruhl, and I want to say also thank you to Patty and LACAW. As you know, this is an awareness campaign, and it's a simple act that we have done today by wearing denim jeans or a denim jacket. So I hope this will encourage all of you and enable all of you to educate your constituents, your family, friends, neighbors about the realities of sexual assault. It's not about what you wear or what you say, but it is something that can happen to anyone, man or woman, and we really need to join together to raise awareness and to unite behind this important issue and to reach out to others. And thanks, Patty, for leading the way. And Mr. Weiss will give us some details on a rally at the Staples Center today. But I hope all of you will join us to promote this powerful message of unity for our loved ones. Thank you.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Weiss, and Ms. Berry and Ms. Gruhl. And Patty, it's always great to have you here. And not only what Mr. Weiss said about this way that Denim Day has stretched throughout the city, but the way that it's really gone throughout the world. And every year when you go to that LACAW website and you see how many more places around the world are doing this, it is an incredible, incredible project. So, you know, I challenge the folks that are out there not only to join us wearing the jeans, but the button, which is on my jacket here, but why denim, I think, is an amazing addition this year because it really pushes that conversation forward. And when we're armed with the facts and we understand what still is happening in our midst, we understand some of the public policy things we can do around here, like our sexual abuse response teams, which don't exist in every police division right now. They exist in some, and if a woman goes through tragedy of a sexual assault, and is lucky enough to be in a police division where that exists, she's going to be better off than in a division where they don't. That those are the things that we should be looking at in this coming year to make sure that this isn't just a commemoration, but something that inspires us for action. So thank you, Patty. Thank you to the Commission. Thank you to the council members for doing this again this year.
Thank you.
Mr. Reyes.
I just wanted to also rise and thank my colleagues and for all your hard work, the organization for their diligence. You know, I went through an experience in dealing with what's called the AIDS wall. And in that process, I learned a lot about how many women are suffering silently because of AIDS. And the reason why I bring the two together is because there's a body of people out there that come from different backgrounds and different cultures. In the Latino community, there's a notion called machismo, being macho. And that in of itself has created a lifestyle and a level of suffering on women, especially Latinas, who are suffering from AIDS, who suffer from these abuses because of this culture that tends to abuse women. And I say that publicly because it's not often we speak about it in public. And I think today's event, today's exercise, is something we need to do in order for us to talk about these kinds of issues that are taboo in many cultures. But I think it's necessary to bring it out in the light and discuss it, and I just want to thank you for that opportunity to even raise these kinds of issues in the public eye. Thank you so much.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you. I want to join my colleagues. This is now starting to spread where the media is picking up on it finally. I heard on the news this morning about Denim Day, and obviously I join with my colleagues in support for the wonderful work you've done. And as the word spreads and more and more people get involved in this, hopefully we will have fewer tragedies take place, fewer victims, and the attitude will change. And I don't know if it's been mentioned how this all started in Italy. Mr. Weiss, did you mention that? Okay, I wasn't. I think I was drinking my coffee at that time. At any rate, they mentioned that on the news today, how it started, because people often ask you, well, you're wearing denim and this, that, and the other. As word spreads, more people get involved, we change the attitudes, change the behavior, and have people safe, not only in Los Angeles, but throughout this world. So again, appreciation for what you're doing once again. Jack, thank you for bringing it forward.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and members and our commission and everyone. Harm that takes place when someone is violated. It's not just a physical scar, but a mental scar that then destroys future relationships or opportunities to be living, to be part of a community. This whole awareness is so important because if I think back to my youth and the changes that were going on in my time and the importance of having respect for people, respect for all people. And I just think it's so important in this program, constant reminder, especially from everybody. I just say it's just so important to do this, and especially our young people in schools, as they grow up, as they mature, as they begin to date, as they begin to relate, and as they begin to have friendships and partnerships. It's so important to have respect. And this raises that because no one should ever be violated. No one should ever be turned off or hurt by someone. So I want to thank all of you for being involved in this awareness campaign that is something we should always have in our minds every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ludlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too wanted to rise and say thank you to each one of the council members for again supporting the work of the commission and also for the work of the commission. Just for each one of us, I'm a husband and a father. I also think about my mother who lives alone. This is such a personal issue, and as I think all three of the council members talked about the statistics, an issue that can touch home. in just unforeseen ways and unexpected ways, and the fact that you've taken the leadership to identify a very tangible way that we can raise the awareness just by identifying one day here. It's just so important, and I just wanted to add my voice to the chorus of other council members that are saying thank you for your leadership on the issue. And again, it's a very difficult thing when you think about your own family and the perspective that can often bring to bear. And so thank you again for what you're doing, and just so appreciative of your work.
Thank you. Ms.
Okay.
Giggins.
Thank you very much. Many of you have already expressed some of the things that I was going to be saying. I mean, you really get what Denim Day in LA is about. This is our 6th year. This is a growing movement. It started with that Supreme Court case in Italy in 1999, but that just became a symbol, because it's about all of the assaults and the rapes, the molestations, the child abuse that go on every day in our city, in our country, and obviously all over the world. We wear denim to become more educated and to make sure that young people become educated. There are over 150,000 people in the city of Los Angeles wearing denim today. 22,000 employees of the city, 10,000 high school students, spearheaded by Marshall High School and Monroe High School, are wearing jeans. Yeah, Marshall. 3,000 Verizon Wireless employees, 25,000 Boeing employees are participating, 6,000 Starbucks employees and patrons, 35 students from LA area colleges and universities. One of the things that at LaCaw is that we feel so strongly about in terms of our programs, we consider ourselves part of Homeland Security. We actively work to prevent sexual terrorism. We have 24-hour emergency response. Once we get a call from a rape victim or a sexual assault victim, we will show up at the police department, we will show up at the hospital, we will show up at the courts. We provide counseling, advocacy, and we have extensive violence prevention education programs in middle and high schools. And we provide self-defense and empowerment classes. And April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month nationally, and programs are happening not only with LaCaw, but with the 8 other rape crisis centers around our county this month. In California, there's a forcible rape every 54 minutes. Nationwide, there is a rape every 6 minutes. Why denim? To make a social statement with our fashion statement, to support survivors, to educate everyone, especially young people, about what constitutes a healthy relationship, and that it is critical to actually ask for and get consent before having sex. And it's not okay to just hear yes because you want to. We wear denim because rape can happen to anyone, your spouse, your child. It can happen in dark, secluded places by a stranger, but more often it happens on dates. It happens within relationships and abusive marriages. It happens within the sexual arena. It happens to children, both boys and girls, teenagers and college students, because it happens in prison. We wear denim because it happens under cover of clergy. It is viewed as collateral damage in war. We have to break the silence surrounding the tyranny of sexual violence, and we must change the conditions that support it. And we must support the survivors. They're survivors of all kinds, from every background and every age. At LaCaw, we wear denim because we want to someday disconnect our 24-hour hotline, not because we couldn't pay the bill, but because our city and our communities won't need it anymore. But mostly, really, today is about supporting survivors. You know, to come forward and speak, it is really the bravest of us who are willing to do that, especially in the culture that we live in most recently, where if you come forward, in particular if it's a high-profile case, your character will be assassinated and your life might be threatened. So I am very, very privileged to introduce you to Rebecca Tomasini, who has become a volunteer recently at our agency, and is a survivor of sexual assault. Rebecca?
Before Rebecca begins, can I please ask everybody's attention, and if we can keep conversations to a minimum right now as Rebecca shares her story. Thank you.
My name is Rebecca Tomasini. I'm someone's daughter. I'm someone's sister. I recently became my college roommate's daughter's godmother. I'm a public high school teacher in an inner city school in Bell Gardens. I'm someone's cousin. I'm your neighbor. I'm that lady you run into at the farmer's market where I always buy my juice. You see me on the freeway singing in my car. I'm also a victim turned survivor turned educator activist. About a year and a half ago, I had a 32nd birthday party. A party meant to celebrate life, celebrate the gift that we're given. So I invited my friends to my house to celebrate my birthday. As the party started to wind down, and I saw people to the end of my driveway, which was no more than 150 feet from the backyard where the party was going on, a quiet moment with a friend of 2 years on my front porch slowly turned my birthday party into a day that I was meant to celebrate my life, into a day that I had to defend my life. That quiet conversation with a friend of 2 years, a friend whose family I knew, whose sister I was friends with, slowly turned from talking to kissing. I was a birthday girl. I deserved a kiss. I agreed to the kiss. And I'd lie if I told you I didn't like the kiss. When he wanted more than a kiss and I said no, in that moment, he made a decision. He made a choice. And that choice changed my life. It changed his life. It changed both of our families. It changed our friends. When he chose not to listen to my no, he chose not to respect my right to govern my body. He chose to disregard the fundamental right I have to decide who touches my body, when they touch my body, how they touch it, if they touch it. This was his choice. As he pinned me down and held me down with the force of his body on my own property, he chose in that 4 minutes to take away my agency. And on Denim Day, I thank you for countering his choice with a very different choice, a very positive choice, a choice to bring voice and public audience to a crime that is so often gone silent, unnoticed, and unspoken. I thank you for choosing to wear denim. I thank you for supporting all of the legislation and laws and educational programs that make this something we have to talk about. The more we talk about it, the more we see, the more we can understand, the more we can change. I hope Denim Day becomes an excuse for everyone in this room and everyone watching to use this as an excuse to talk about how rape and sexual assault happen, how it can be prevented, and what the effects are. And I hope it's a launching pad to create everyday activists. As politicians, you wield great power. The decisions made in this room validate what we honor and cherish as a society. I encourage you and I hope that you will continue to honor and validate our society's condemnation of violence against men, women, and children, especially with regard to rape and sexual assault. Only as you keep the doors open can we encourage more everyday activists.
people who call a joke to the carpet when they hear it, people who say no to violent language. I thank you, and thank you for making your choice today.
Mr. Weiss, we have one other council member who would like to be heard, Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much, colleagues, and thank you very much for your testimony. It's very important for us to understand that this issue is a very real issue, and it changes people's lives. I also want to thank you for creating this organization that reminds us this Denim Day is every day, but today we actually express ourselves on this Denim Day on this very crucial and important issue. I do agree with you that violence, sexual assault, gender violence, rape, abuse is unexcusable, it's unacceptable, and on Denim Day we remind everybody that it is not going to happen again. How can any individual justify that? How can any court justify such a thing? How can somebody actually say that that's a defense, that the person was dressed a certain way, therefore I was provoked into creating such an act that you just described? It's just unexcusable. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to participate with you on this day so that we can show a solidarity that we will not tolerate it anymore. And as individuals, we need to do what we can every day to try to make sure, like you said, call those nasty jokes out when you hear them. Call those instances when you hear them. Support people who have been victims. Support people in not creating victims. That's what we need to do every day. So to me, that's what Denim Day means to me as a father, as a brother, as a son, and someone who can call a woman a friend. I need to do what I can to make sure that I can, as an elected official and as an individual, to make a difference every day. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. We've also been joined up here by Councilmember Villaraigosa.
There's not much that you could say after hearing Rebecca share with us the ordeal that she went through. But I can tell you, Rebecca, that your voice is a voice that needs to be heard. We're here today on Denim Day to celebrate the courage of women like you, women who have stood up and said no to sexual assault, been willing to hold those who have engaged in it accountable. Thank you for that courage. Thank you all for participating in Denim Day today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weiss. We will now return to our regular agenda. First item, or order of business, rather.
Mr. President?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Mr.
I
Smith,
request that
sorry.
item number 39 be reconsidered. I understand there are 2 speaker cards submitted after we voted.
Okay, so, sorry, you'd like to call it special?
39 and call it special.
Okay, we have to reconsider that. If no objection, let's open the roll on reconsideration, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
We will add that to the queue as well. Okay.
Next item, Mr. President, do you wish to take up public comment at this time?
Let's move to general public comment. I'd like to invite forward for our regularly scheduled public comment now. Adiogenes Rumbo, Vicente Curabo, excuse me if I can't quite read that one, Jesus Macias, Federoso Sanchez, Marcelina Tomas, and Jose Maria Ochoa.
Señor presidente y concejales, muy buenos días. Como campesino que soy, hemos venido todavía con la esperanza de un apoyo de las autoridades.
Mr. President, council members, good morning. As people that work in the field, we come here for, perdón, ¿qué dijo? ¿Por qué dijo apoyo de las autoridades?
trabajar las tierras, algunas cosas. Bueno, eso yo lo hablo después.
Ok, adelante.
Por eso, señor presidente, es poco lo que quiero hablar de este problema que hay de las tierras.
That's why, Mr. President, is that I want to speak about this program, about the land.
Quiero, si usted, presidente municipal, me da permiso hablar un poco de la historia pasadas, y años, siglos de años.
If you allowed me to speak about the history of generations and generations.
Por eso, empezando con el señor Emiliano Zapata, que era esa persona haciendado.
Starting with Mr. Emiliano Zapata, that person, he was a landowner.
Por eso, señor presidente, es una historia muy linda, pero al mismo tiempo dolorosa.
That's why, Mr. President, that's a very pretty story, but at the same time it's a painful one.
Dolorosa porque nuestros padres no los daban al llenar. Comíamos limitadito. ¿Por qué razones? Porque los señores haciendados eran dueños de las tierras.
And because we didn't even have enough to eat, and we eat in a very limited way because the landowners, they own the land.
Por eso el señor Emiliano Zapata dejó esa guerra programada. Esa guerra programada.
That's why Mr. Emiliano Zapata had to start that battle.
Entonces mis padres o la gente de esa época o de esos siglos de años lucharon hasta que consiguieron lo que deseaban.
And that's why my ancestors and the people at that time, they had to fight hard to get what they were trying to get.
Yo sé que todas las personas que son menor de edad quieren saber esta historia. Esta historia era muy bonita.
And I know that all the children, the minors, would like to know about this history, and it was a very pretty one.
Por eso, señores gobernantes, queremos que los ayuden, porque no queremos que estos niños sufran como nosotros.
That's why to you, the authorities, we would like you to help us because we don't want the children to suffer like we did.
Ahora, el señor Emiliano Zapata, esta guerra la dejó programada. Entonces, el señor Lázaro Cárdenas, como ya estaba programado, luchó y hasta que entró de presidente.
That's why Emiliano Zapata started this war, and until Lázaro Cárdenas became the president, he fought it.
Por eso, señor presidente, es muy larga esta historia, pero le agradezco que me haya dado permiso de hablar un poco.
That's why, Mr. Chairman, this is a long story, but I thank you for allowing me to tell you a little bit about it.
Gracias. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Muchísimas gracias. Okay. Thank you very much. This closes our public comment for today. We have on the items called specials, colleagues, a good thick stack of luminaries for item number 28 and other citizens who are here to talk on that. We do have just 3 other public speaker cards, 1 for 35 and 2 for item 39, that if there's no objection, we can make sure we get rid of those 2 first, okay? So let's call up item 35, please.
Okay, item number 35 was called special by Councilmember Reyes.
Okay. Mr. Reyes?
Thank you, Council President. I rise, folks, because we've had this project, the red car trolley, around for at least 7 or 8 years. The former department head of the Bureau of Street Lighting had taken on the mantle and put together a whole effort, and unfortunately, it did not pick up the momentum that many would have desired. But today we have funds from Congressman Lucille Robo Allard, who's put forth the basic funds to at least put together a study that can give us baseline information and how this red trolley line can be built, how it can be designed throughout the downtown area. Wishful thinking has it that we can connect all of our venues as far south as the Coliseum, up into Staples, past USC into Staples, up through downtown, and who knows, maybe reach Dodger Stadium. But the fact is, it would be a local circulator, it would be a tourist attraction, the red trolley system would add some more character to our area, and with the whole wave of new residential structures, with the retrofitting program that is going on in downtown today, we'll have a solid base of community folks throughout the downtown area to use this facility. So again, this money is to set the foundation, to lay down some very basic costs, and to move forward in the future. I think George is happy that it's still alive and has a pulse. And with the help of a multi-jurisdictional effort between the county, the state, and the feds, along with local and private funds, we can make a very exciting project come to life and add another level of service for the transit dependent, in as much as it would be a way to bring forth tourism and to connect people to our venues. So I ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Two other members wishing to speak. I'm just going to take the one public comment card first from Victor Franco Jr. I'd like to come forward, and then we'll hear from Mr. Labange and Ms. Hahn.
Morning, members of the council. Victor Franco Jr. with Central City Association. Wanted to first thank the CRA, Congressmember Lucille Robo Allard, for obviously moving this project forward. CRA has done an excellent job with including the local community, particularly those in downtown, on looking at all options and looking at ways to get a red car moving, even looking at some funding options. I don't think that anybody around this room would disagree. The historic value, probably Councilmember Labange could tell some great stories about the whole historic red car and what it did for transit here in downtown. But even looking at other cities like Portland, which has utilized a red car in its a red trolley in its boost of housing, and requiring along a red car route no parking for some of the housing developments to help spur that development. So we appreciate the council's work, the work of the CRA, and hope this moves forward this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Franco. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. Well, I stand obviously in support because we've done this in San Pedro. We actually resurrected the red car, and it now operates every day and on the weekends. And when we did it certainly because of the great history of the red car. The red car used to come from downtown Los Angeles and go all the way out to Cabrillo Beach. I think I told that story when we were honoring Bob Henry at his retirement, that business people in Los Angeles would take the red car down to San Pedro on their lunch hour and rent a swimming suit and swim in at Cabrillo Beach, and then shower in the beautiful Cabrillo Beach bathhouse and come back to work in downtown Los Angeles. We instituted this red car really on a kind of a leap of faith because we didn't really have our waterfront development. We had not revitalized our downtown area, and many people criticized us and said we were building the red car to nowhere. But now it is absolutely in the perfect place. We're doing a $1 million renovation of the waterfront. in San Pedro, and we have the red car now running daily. We hope to expand the red car to go into downtown San Pedro, which we know will boost the businesses in downtown San Pedro. It's a great idea. Support this wholeheartedly. If you want to learn the lessons, come talk to us in San Pedro. We did it. It's successful. It's a great thing to do. Congratulations for bringing this up, Ed.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Labange, the gauntlet's been thrown down. Let's hear some stories.
No, that's it. Hey, Ed, good job. And I know George Zislinger was, everybody thought he was dreaming, and sometimes dreams do come true. And Janice, your dream and that of others in San Pedro did come true in restoring 3 red cars, which is a line that I've taken my family down to, enjoy an experience in San Pedro. And I truly believe, members, if we look at our city and look at other great cities in the world, whether it's Hong Kong or San Francisco or New Orleans, you have a little transit that makes a difference. It creates an interaction amongst people. And the great Congresswoman, Lucille Roybal, and her efforts are to be commended for this, to be able to study this and see what it works. I remember the old Angels flight. I used to take the Washington Boulevard bus downtown instead of going back up Vermont just to ride it. And I hope that gets back online again. But a larger system could take people off. My family and I just came back from a little visit to Hoover Dam and Lake Mead's way down. But we also went over to Las Vegas. My son said a lot of inappropriate things go on in Las Vegas. He picked that up walking down those sidewalks at 7 years old. But we did take the monorail that's there, a modern technology that moved people from one portion of Vegas to the other. And it got people together in a way that makes things happen. But now, instead of a monorail, the red car, which has some of the greatest impact. If you talk to people in Los Angeles, you say the red car, people smile because it actually worked. And to try to create something downtown to connect to the historic Angelino Heights District and Echo Park, one of the great parks of the city, from Elysian Park all the way south. I know Tommy Hawkins is a big booster of this from the Los Angeles Dodgers, now on his own, a great Angelino. But to connect Elysian Park and Exposition Park, 2 great parks, it makes a lot of sense. And this study goes a long way. So Ed, I stand behind you, both as a council member and as a MTA board member. And also thank you, Ms. Hahn, for the efforts you did in San Pedro. We could learn a little from that. And thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to rise to just remember that this project's been pending for a very long time. And some of you may remember George Esslinger, after he retired from the Bureau of Street Lighting, was committed to bringing the red line back, and I think was very instrumental in working with the Congresswoman's office and building the case for why we needed to do a feasibility study with his longtime friend who used to run the historic core BID, Cheryl Wilson, who's since passed. And I was remarking to Mr. Reyes this morning how long it's been, and that I'm pleased that it's finally moving forward, because I think it's the first step in connecting our neighborhoods back together again. And so I wanted to rise and just remember that little bit of history, and if George is listening, which I hope he is, to know that we remember him, because he was really the catalyst for bringing this back to life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perry. Seeing no other speakers, can we please open the roll on the item, close the roll, and tabulate the vote?
15 ayes.
That is approved. And next, we will quickly look at item 39, Madam Clerk.
And item number 39 was called special by Mr. Smith, and there are cards on the item.
Would you like me to go straight to the speakers, Mr. Smith? Okay. Philip Hess, if you'd like to come forward, and Jay Plum, please.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the council. My name is Philip Hess. I'm an attorney representing Jeanette Plum, who's the appellant in this case. I'd like to begin by thanking Councilman Smith and his staff for agreeing to call this item special, so I would have an opportunity to address you this morning. I want to talk about the additional findings that were made at the Plum Committee in their report to this council. This case is not about the merits of a school. This case is about the merits of the process by which a variance has been granted. My contention is that every step in the city's variance process was ignored or abandoned. There was a waiver of a public hearing for which there was absolutely no justification. The public hearing was waived initially on the grounds that abutting property owners had no problem. There was no consultation with the wider community. After the variance went further through the process, there has been reliance all the way through on a resolution of the Neighborhood Council. The Neighborhood Council, in fact, did not support this project. It adopted a conditional resolution, and in a letter to the Plum Committee on March 25th, it stated those conditions have never been fulfilled. In fact, the Neighborhood Council in that letter states that they believe there could be significant impacts from this project. On that basis alone, a public hearing was required. Second of all, there was an improper CEQA exemption in this case. The CEQA exemption was based on the notion that this is an insignificant change in land use. From a daycare center to a high school, there is no rational basis for calling that an insignificant change in land use. Third, the hardship finding in this case cannot be met on any basis. The Plum Committee simply accepted, without question, without independent examination, undocumented and unverified assertions by the applicant. If you look at those assertions, they are completely unsupported. The courts have told this city time and again, if you want to grant a variance, you have to have justification in the record. You have to have evidentiary support. There is none. Finally, there is no basis for finding uniqueness in this case. There is no evidence that anyone ever looked at the other properties in this zone and vicinity and compared them to this site. On those grounds, we believe the variance is improper. The appeal should be granted, and the process should start over with compliance with all the rules that apply. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jay Plum.
Thank you. My appeal here today before the City Council states that the planning approval process to be deficient in several ways. First of all, the proper planning procedures were passed over or completely omitted in the rush to push this application through to its stated, quote, predestined, unquote, approval. The school's impacts around the Nordhoff Place site, as well as my neighborhood and property, have been omitted from the variance review and the SEQA review since it is based upon a 15-year-old MND, mitigated negative declaration document. Busing students to public parks and other public facilities in my neighborhood for athletic and entertainment events were not part of the subject application and were not discussed in the alluded to project description. Using a different school site as a hub for carpooling, also in my neighborhood, was not a part of the MND that they relied upon that is 15 years old. These and more significant issues are not explored and are not divulged by the applicant in their application to the City of Los Angeles, and therefore were not part of the documents. My belief is that the city's variance procedures in this case have not been complied with, have been passed over, and the CEQA guidelines that should have been followed have been disregarded. I request that the request be denied and my appeal be upheld. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Smith, anything else to say?
Just to close, Mr. President, if you would, just to close, the Planning Committee heard these issues, voted unanimously to support the zoning action. I see no reason to overturn the Planning Land Use Committee's action. They did the right thing. They did not err, and I ask that you continue to vote as you did before to sustain the action of the Planning Committee. Thank you.
Okay. Let's open the roll on that. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved. Back to the normal order of the agenda, 26.
Item number
Ms. Han?
26 was called official by Councilmember Hahn.
Okay, Ms. Han.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I know we've got a very big item on our agenda today, and that's the Reform Commission for the Governance of LAUSD. But this item wanted to take first, and I know we have a lot of people waiting to testify on the other one, but this one actually is our show of faith to the school district. And what I would like our support on today is that we make a part of our legislative agenda in Washington, D.C., that we urge full funding of the No Child Left Behind Act. This act has put more pressures, more requirements, more benchmarks on our schools, and yet has not given the money to fully fund this. It has become an unfunded mandate for the school districts. The money, if fully funded, could go for programs like everything from school safety to tutoring programs, to keep our class sizes where we want to keep them. So I think this is a great idea for us. We're not always criticizing the school district. We are here to say we believe that the No Child Left Behind Act should be fully funded. Let's not have any more unfunded mandates for our schools, our teachers, and our kids. And I hope you'll support me in making sure that our lobbyists back in D.C. are doing everything they can to make sure that this act is fully funded. I ask for your support on this.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. Can we open the roll on the item? Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
As approved, forthwith, please. All right, item 28, if we can take up next and recognize Mr. Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti, and I believe there's a lot of people here in the audience who are here on item number 28. If you'll allow me, Mr. Chair and colleagues, what I'd like to do is begin by trying to set the stage a little bit. I do have some opening comments to make. I may run over my 3 minutes just by a little bit, and then after my comments, I do want to open it up to public comment. We had public comment in committee last week. But I think, as you've seen through the press over the course of the last week, many, many more people have been engaged on this issue and in this conversation. We have in the audience today representatives from the school board who should say a few words here, and other civic leaders and parents and other folks concerned about education that wish to speak as well. But colleagues, I think we all recognize that the 700,000 students at LA Unified School District include among them some outstanding students. LA Unified School District includes amongst their 40,000 teachers, some brilliant teachers, some teachers who are just great at what they do. And there's district employees in all categories that work hard each and every day to make sure the school district runs as effectively as possible and that the students who come to the school district have as much of a chance as they can to learn. I know Los Angeles Unified School District was my training ground, as it was for many of the people on this city council and a number of members of the school board. And we're thankful for the education foundation that LA Unified gave us that has allowed us to go on to universities and earn both undergraduate and graduate degrees. We're not alone as elected officials. Every year there's thousands upon thousands of high school students who graduate from high school and go on to college and pursue both academic and professional success. Just yesterday, Councilmember Zine had the honor of bringing in students from El Camino High School, the National Academic Decathlon Champions, LA Unified's own El Camino High School, National Academic Decathlon Champions. And we're very, very proud of them. But colleagues, it's hard to really be excited about this kind of success. It's hard to be proud of the success when we realize that it's the exception and not the rule, that this success is outnumbered by the number of students who are giving up on their education, giving up on their dreams, and dropping out of school. Recently, we've seen additional reports that document, empirical evidence that documents the fact that we're not reaching all of our students and we're not teaching all of our students. And over the last couple of decades, I know there's been numerous attempts and honorable attempts to improve education in LA's public schools. Some with limited success, some with no success. We just passed council's position to insist on more federal funding for No Child Left Behind implementation and compliance. One of the things that I think has been missing in all these initiatives, all these efforts, is a process that educates the greater public, that builds consensus amongst all stakeholders before we jump to the conclusions of LEARN and school-based management and charter schools and breaking up the district and city control, mayoral appointments. All these ideas, all these proposed solutions have failed to reach out to people throughout the city, to engage them in a conversation and educate people as to why that solution makes sense and to build support for it. Colleagues, clearly the health of our schools and the health of our city are intertwined. And when I think about high school dropouts, I think to myself, just because a student drops out of school doesn't mean they drop out of our community. These students aren't going away. They're not disappearing. And so the health of our school system is imperative, not only for the school district, but for the city, our public safety, our future economy, and our overall quality of life. We need to build stronger ties between the school district and the city. Their students and their families are our constituents, as Ms. Hahn constantly says. Clearly, we have a connection to work together. We all have a stake, and we have an obligation to work together. School Board President Wisad and I have been working now for about 7 months on the specific proposal that is before us today. He, a product of LA Unified, myself, a product of LA Unified, finding ourselves in a unique position and this opportunity in time to do something to improve the school system that we went through. And so, colleagues, the resolution before you today calls for the establishment of a joint commission, city, school district commission, to look at school district governance, similar, as you've heard me explain before, to the charter reform process that the city went through between 1997 and 1999. Today, we want to initiate a serious discussion, and a discussion that will lead to recommendations on improving our school district to serve the kids more than anybody, but the kids, the parents, the teachers, and the administrators better. Colleagues, I hope we have the political will in us today to rally the greater public, to engage in this dialogue, to reach consensus, to build consensus, and to institute changes that we know are so desperately needed, but long overdue. At this point, let's open it up to public comment, and colleagues, I look forward to the discussion and the debate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Padilla. We have approximately 40 public speaker cards. I'd like to invite forward Jose Huizar, President of the LAUSD Board, and Julie Korenstein from the LAUSD Board as well, to be our first two speakers.
Good morning, council members. It's certainly a pleasure to be here today to talk about public education. I've been here before on numerous occasions talking about your support for our school construction program, your support for getting more parents involved in our schools, and your support for getting more safety in and around our schools. I truly believe we are in a critical juncture at LAUSD where we've seen lots and lots of progress these last 4 years. We're very proud of the fact that our test scores at our elementary level are rising faster than any other school district in the state of California. We're very proud of that. We're near the average, and we hope to be above the average in the next couple of years. We're also very proud of our school construction program. No doubt we have a program now that will finally end forced busing for many, many of our children, and we are close to ending the year-round multi-track calendars that we have for many, many of our students. And we know that the most immediate impact we can have in educating our children are first, focusing on the quality of teaching in the classroom, getting more parents involved, and having safer schools. But governance of LAUSD is a piece of the puzzle that would allow this district to go forward, to continue on the progress that it's built in the last few years. That's why I was very proud to have talked to Council President Alex Padilla 7 months ago when he brought forward the idea to go forward and examine the governance of LAUSD so that we could examine ways of how to bring more accountability to the people who are ultimately responsible for the performance of this system in order to raise student achievement. Let's not forget that examining governance is not only about who is there, how long they're there, how they're there, but it's about creating accountability on how we can continue to raise student achievement. That's what this is about. one of the things that Council President and I have been talking about as we've gone forward through this is we want to make sure, we want to make it very clear that we do not have a preconceived notion of what the outcome will be. We simply want to put it on the table, discuss what is the best possible governance structure for the 21st century for this school district, put everything on the table, find those recommendations, build not only the consensus, but the constituency to pick up those recommendations, move the ball forward, and improve education for our children. And we know that one of the issues that we've been discussing so far is the composition of this commission. How many board members will be appointed by the City Council? How many board members will be appointed by the school district? I'm proud to say, commissioners, thank you, Julie. I'm proud to say that we are incorporating the outlying cities. As you know, the LAUSD not only incorporates the city of Los Angeles, but a number of cities that are part of LAUSD, and we're giving those cities a say in this commission. But more importantly about a discussion about how many and who is appointing these commissions is the quality and caliber of these commissioners. So if there's one thing that I'm asking of you today, as I will ask my school board members, my colleagues on the board, is that we be very thoughtful about the type of people we appoint to this commission. We're hoping we have high-minded, civic-minded people with some objectivity on how best to provide a governance structure that is best for the school district. I've been on the Board of Education now for about 4 years. I've served as its board president for 2 years. And like many of you know, I've come to realize, and I know many of you have realized, the importance of education, not only of this city, but for this country. We know that next to national security is perhaps no other more important issue than education in this country. We have to make sure that these children get educated, not only for economic reasons, because we want them to continue producing the economic stimuli that we've seen in this country, but it's a moral issue. We see that over of our 730,000 children in LAUSD, for many of these children who live in poverty, a good education is their only way out. It's the only way for them to fulfill their dreams. What we're doing here today will have tremendous impact for the future of this city, because we are not only examining those immediate things that support LAUSD, such as good teaching, safe schools, and more parental involvement, but it's a long-term investment to have the best governance structure that provides more accountability that will filter throughout the district. I've been very proud to have worked with Councilmember Padilla on this for the last 7 months. I hope you approve this resolution today so that we could go forward, work collectively, work collaboratively, and get the best governance system for our children so that we can continue to build those schools, continue to provide accountability across the district, continue to provide the good quality teaching in our classrooms. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Huizar. Welcome, Ms. Kornstein.
Thank you very much. I am Julie Kornstein, and I'm the senior member of the Board of Education, having served 18 years on the LA Unified Board. I wanted to thank Janice Hahn for bringing the No Child Left Behind problem that we're all dealing with. There are some major lawsuits that are going on right now throughout the United States, and many states have joined in, and with my hope that very soon LA Unified will be a part of that, because it is a very poorly put together law that is hurting children in schools. I also wanted to mention that I am an LA Unified graduate as well, and my granddaughter is the 4th generation of my family to attend LA Unified schools. So I'm very proud of LA Unified and many things that we've done and all the things that we still need to do. We are made up of 27 cities and parts of cities, so it's not just the city of Los Angeles, it's the Cudahy and the Gardinas and the Lomitas and the Huntington Parks and the Southgates and city of San Fernando, West Hollywood, and so forth. And I do want to say that the children that come through the doors of LA Unified, which there are about 740,000, and I also wanted to mention that we have adult school students and early childhood development, which are our little preschoolers. That combined is an additional 400,000. So we have over 1 million human beings going through our doors of our schools daily. And all of these children are the same children and the same families that you as city council people represent. It's the same children. They don't just go to LA Unified Schools, but happen to live in a different neighborhood. They live in your neighborhoods and you represent them. So it's very important that we're able to work together to come up with the very best plan. Some of the areas that we would be able to, I believe, look into very carefully, certainly a commission will look at the governance, but in terms of cooperation between LA Unified and the City of Los Angeles, City Council and Mayor, would be safety around our schools, gang intervention programs, after-school programs. We have some, but we don't have enough. Apprenticeship programs, training programs, there's many things that we could do together. So I am here to say that I would like to see a cooperative venture between the City Council of the City of Los Angeles and LA Unified Board of Education, but I must say that there has to be parity in the numbers of people that sit on the commission. And I'm really speaking for our board members because I've spoken to each of them personally, and they're asking that there be more than 7 appointments on this commission. Whatever is decided today, obviously, we'll have to go back to our board to make a decision on, but that is the message that I bring to you. I would love to see the commission happen. I think that it's a very positive step in the right direction to help our children and all of the people. By the way, we have 85,000 employees that work for LA Unified. It's a lot of people's lives that are involved. And so if we're talking about the governance of LA Unified, the board members are saying that they need to have a little bit better representation on it. I would like to ask, if at all possible, Samara, who represents Marlene Cantor. Marlene Cantor's out of town, and she has a letter to read. Could she come and read this right now?
Sure.
So I thank you again for listening. I hope we can work this out together. I think it's the right step in the right direction, but we have to look at the composition. We have to also make sure that the outlying cities have enough representation because they are indeed a part of LA Unified as well. Thank you all very much.
Samara, if you don't mind waiting for just a sec, I have you 4 down, but there's a couple other elected officials I just want to make sure can have the opportunity to speak, but we'll make sure that you get right up at the top of the list. I'd like to call forward Mayor Ofelia Hernandez, the mayor from the city of Huntington Park. It's an honor to have you here today in City Council, and welcome. You'll be followed in your comments by the Hugginator himself, Mr. Bob Hertzberg.
Thank you very much, and it's an honor to be here. My name is Ofelia Hernandez, and I represent 6 cities, southeast cities. I represent Bell, Carajay, Huntington Park, Maywood, Southgate, and Vernon. Just as we have about 65,000 students. Just Huntington Park have 2 junior highs, and we have 39,000 students in each junior high. Our elementary school have more than 3,000 students. I'm here to applaud to Mr. Alex Padilla and Jose Huizar, because I think this is the best that has been happening for years with LAUSD. I've been advocating for education for more than 20 years. I've been parent representative for more than that time. I'm responsible for all those students, not just during the time they attend school. As a mayor, as a council members from the southeast cities, we are responsible at the local government for all 24 hours a day for those youth and children. So I'm here to represent all those parents. Our communities are very humble, and like Mr. Alex Padilla mentioned, and Mr. Huizar, this is the only treasure they will have through their lives. This is their only way to improve and have a better life. True education is the only way we can succeed. I read in the papers that only 39%, and that's very sad, 39% of our Latinos graduate only from high school. Imagine college. not even junior college. I'm here as a parent and as a community leader to please support this endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Hernandez. I'd like to invite forward for our next three speakers, former Assembly Speaker and Member of the Assembly, Bob Hertzberg, Tim McCosker from the Mayor's office, and then Samira Estelai from the Marlene Cantor's office.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and members, for allowing me the opportunity to be here for a few moments to share my thoughts. I stand before you as a citizen of the city of Los Angeles who's put a lot of time and energy and creativity and imagination in the issue of education, and I am compelled by the urgency of the issue. There's a class of children now who are being affected by the decisions that we make, and so I stand here today at the invitation of the Council President, Mr. Padilla, in strong support of this endeavor. I want to share a couple of thoughts with you, both in terms of how I think you should proceed, for whatever that's worth, and some observations as to why I believe that it is so important for municipal government to be involved in the issue of education. Because at every level, whether it's issues of public safety with which you deal with every day, or issues of economic development with the core of the future of this city, education is at the foundation. We've seen New York and Philadelphia and Boston and other jurisdictions where the local municipal government has been engaged fundamentally in the issue of education, and I am ecstatic at the fact that you are moving down that road. I'm also very encouraged at the tone of this endeavor, that everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. And that's a good thing too, because at the end of the day, I think everybody has a similar objective, and that is to improve the quality of education. When you had 53, or if the numbers the Harvard study says 54.7% of ninth graders not graduating the system, we have a crisis. I want to share a couple of thoughts. First, I think that as you proceed, often as we create these kind of citizen-involved blue ribbon commissions, we tend to try to put together a report that has a deadline with a product. I would argue that in this deliberation, everybody's involved, and that you should set very short milestones for the board to come before the council and before the Board of Education with progress reports on its thinking to help stimulate the debate. Don't get caught in the rut of waiting for the perfect, of waiting to figure out the panacea of what it looks like. I believe that that process, the debate and periodic very short-term reports will help stimulate what that conversation will be, build the necessary coalitions, and deal with this matter in the urgent nature in which it is. Second, I would also encourage this council and the Board of Education to engage in the world of the internet. I have found through my own personal experiences, thousands and thousands of parents and teachers and principals and retired teachers who have opinions. I have stacks of them on how to fix the system. No longer is it this committee of 25 and top-down management, but it's a committee of millions. And there's a lot of people with a lot of ideas with very human experiences. And so I just suggest that as you create this process, you bring the internet, you bring in blogs, you bring in a system and outreach to the public, because I think you're going to find a treasure trove of ideas and real-world experiences that will help this process come to a better conclusion. And so with that, I just thank you for giving me the honor to be here, to participate, to be a citizen of this great and incredible, unbelievable city, and I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hertzberg. Very much appreciate your testimony. Next, hear from Tim McCosker, Chief of Staff to the Mayor.
Members of the Council, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. I want to commend President Huizar and commend and thank President Padilla for giving us the opportunity on behalf of the Mayor to speak to this important motion. I could not agree more with the importance of this issue, and we certainly could not agree more with the urgency with which we must move forward. And so I thank all of you again. There are so many things that we can and should continue to do with the school district. We work on issues, as Bob Hertzberg said, on public safety, which are so important to the school district today. We work on issues of education. We work on making sure that we get city government out of the way and in cooperation on the placement of school sites. All of those issues are very important. Here we have a great opportunity to look at the guts of the school district itself, the governance. Because of the current political environment, there are a number of proposals out there now. And I think it's important, I think we would all agree it's important to move forward with urgency and create this venue of not just the usual suspects, as I think some of us would say, but could bring the greatest minds and create the greatest opportunity for us not only to study these issues, but bring them back quickly, bring back the solutions quickly, and probably err on the side, if you will, of making sure that we act rather than wait for the perfect. So again, the mayor thanks you for the opportunity to come forward in this venue and to bring these ideas into this joint committee on governance, and again, we commend the presidents. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. McOsker. Samira Estelai, Chief of Staff to Board Member Marlene Cantor.
Good morning. My name is Samara Estelai. I'm Chief of Staff to School Board Member Marlene Cantor. Ms. Cantor could not be here today, but she asked me to read this statement. I'm very happy that education has become a top priority in the city. I commend Presidents Padilla and Huizar for initiating the concept of a joint district city commission to examine the governance of LAUSD. I think the time is right for a civic dialogue. LAUSD is working hard to provide a quality education to all its students. I welcome a thoughtful dialogue about how to build upon this work and create a governance structure that meets the needs of our students and their families. But for this commission to be effective and for its recommendations to take hold, there must be parity in representation between the city and the school district. School board members represent 740,000 children and their families from both City of LA and outlying cities. In my board district alone, I represent the interests of 357,000 registered voters, more than 2 times the size of the largest council district. This, coupled with the fact that school board members live and breathe education day in and day out, demands that the school board members have parity in this commission. My colleagues and I have offered a solution that I believe will achieve parity. 5 additional appointments appointed by the collective concurrence of the board, representing teachers, parents, students, principals, and the district's classified employees. I hope you will support this proposal. If we can achieve parity, I believe we will set the commission on the right course, and I look forward to working with the City Council and the mayors of the outside cities to place thoughtful and reflective people on this commission who will explore the governance of LAUSD, always keeping children's best interests in mind. Lastly, as we move forward in this effort to look at the governance structure of the district, let's not forget the real work is in the classrooms of the district, in the interaction between the teacher and his or her students. We cannot let anything distract us from that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite forward, representing the city of Maywood, next Jose Sigala. And at that point, I think everybody else is here representing organizations or themselves. So we will move to a timer because we have about 40 cards left for about a minute comment each. But first, Mr. Sigala.
Thank you, Mr. President, council members. My name is Jose Sigala, and I'm here on behalf of the City of Maywood as a member of their Education Commission. City of Maywood is in strong support of the motion that's before you by Council President Padilla and School Board President Huizar. City of Maywood, as Mayor Hernandez mentioned, is part of the southeast cities of the LA Unified School District. And for many, many years, they have had the distinction of being the schools with the most year-round schools. They've been year-round for more than 25 years. Schools are overcrowded. The city of Southgate has the most overcrowded middle school in the entire nation. The city of Huntington Park has the most overcrowded elementary school in the entire nation. There are a number of issues that the city of Maywood and the southeast cities face in terms of the challenges that strong education has for their children. And so what I wanted to do today was to be here on behalf of the City Council to urge you to support this motion to create this governance commission to look at ways to improve education. As Board Member Korenstein mentioned, there are a number of things that need to be addressed, from public safety to after-school programs to the continued construction of new schools. And so we'd like to urge you to support this motion, but we also like for you to consider the appointment of 2 members of the Southeast communities. The way the resolution is drawn up now, it appoints one representative of the 6 cities. Given its unique stature, given its unique challenges, and given its great number of students, we like for the City Council to consider amending the motion to create 2 slots, 2 appointments that the mayors of the Southeast cities would fulfill. So again, thank you very much, and we urge your support on this measure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sigala. Again, and in consultation with Mr. Padilla, we will try to ask folks to limit their comments to 1 minute. We have about, with transition time, close to an hour more of commentary. So at this point, I'm going to call forward a few names, and if folks will just line up behind the podium. Our first 5, Yoli Flores Aguilar, Thomas Sainz, Robert Wynn, Johnny Darnell Griggs, and Angela Reddick.
Good morning. My name is Yoli Flores Aguilar. I'm a graduate of Huntington Park High School, and I'm the executive director of the Los Angeles County Children's Planning Council, the nation's largest partnership network dedicated to improving the lives of children and families through systems reform, community capacity building, and a focus on outcomes and results. Through partnerships, community engagement, policy recommendations, and strategic planning efforts, the Council focuses on improving 5 areas of child well-being, all essential for children to grow up productive and contributing members of society. These 5 areas are good health, social and emotional well-being, safety and survival, economic well-being, and education and workforce readiness. In addition, the Council has had a sharp focus on school readiness and school success. I'm here this morning to support the creation of the President's Joint Commission on LAUSD governance. Indeed, the data on educational outcomes tell us that although we've made progress, we must do more and we must do differently.
If I can ask
I
you to
do
wrap
not
up.
need to tell you, any of you, of the deep and serious crisis that we ourselves have, but if we don't act now, we will be and are fully responsible for the consequences of an uneducated citizenry. My time's
Thank
up?
you. That's
Thank you.
time. Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Sainz.
Good morning, council members. My name is Thomas Sainz. I'm Vice President of Litigation with the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, or MALDEF. It is healthy and appropriate at this juncture to review the governance of the Los Angeles Unified School District, and I am here to support the resolution. It is important because of the continuing challenges faced by Los Angeles Unified School District. All of the speakers could give you multiple examples. I will cite only 2. There is a need to address the continuing challenge for school construction. With a targeted end date for Concept 6, there is still a need to construct schools to eliminate year-round, non-traditionally calendared schools in total. In addition, we need to address the continuing and growing mismatch between those who choose the people who govern the district by their votes and by their financial contributions, and those whose children actually attend the schools. With the limited time available, I did want to make one friendly suggestion, which is to ask that the appointing authorities include those who have expertise in education equity and civil rights issues, because there is simply no disputing that the education agenda is an agenda about equity. There is much talk about an achievement gap, but it is much more than that. There is an access gap. There is a participation gap. There is a completion gap, and there is an achievement gap, just to mention a few. The education agenda is one of equity, and it is important that our governance structure make it certain that you can successfully address those equity concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sainz. Robert Wynn.
Thank you very much, and I thank the council for this opportunity. Thank both presidents for having the sagacity to put forward such a recommendation of governance. And I would like those that have come with me to stand at this time. Reverend Knight, churches that are behind, Reverend Lett, pastor of church, and Louis Stepter and the other members. We are so in favor of this governance. And there are 3 reasons primarily. One, it just makes sense to do this. Being the second largest school district in the nation, being the second largest city in the nation, And the third thing is a negative, but being the second largest state with the second largest in the population of prisoners, over 160,000 prisoners that are locked up in California institution, second only to Texas. They have 169,000. So it makes sense to do this, and I would just like to offer this as a piece of advice. Having served on your redistricting commission with the LA City, choose the people carefully, those that are dedicated and want to get the job done. It's tough. You've got to really be indefatigable in your efforts, but you can get it done. And that little bit of information I would offer, and I would please encourage and urge each and every council member here to consider this government's document and please move it forward in the way that you're doing. So thank you so
Mr.
very
Wynn.
much.
Appreciate it very much. Mr. Griggs?
Good morning, council members. My name is Johnny Griggs, and I have the privilege of being the Chief Executive Officer of the Urban Education Partnership. We're pleased to stand up in support of this resolution. We know for a fact over 20 years what President Padilla has said, and that is every day there are Herculean efforts in LAUSD by its teachers, by its principals, by its administrators, yet we're losing half of our children. It's time for a discussion across the board about education in Los Angeles. We are an amazing place. Our diversity, our talent pool, and our spirit is unparalleled anywhere in the world. But we must educate our children. Education is everybody's business. We have known for many years that you've got to bring all the stakeholders to the table, and that's what this resolution does. So we're pleased to be here in support. Thank you very much.
Mr. Griggs. Appreciate it. Ms. Reddick.
Councilmember Garcetti, to Presidents Padilla and Jose Huizar, and to the fellow council members, good morning. Not fellow council members, two council members, good morning. My name is Angela Reddock, and I'm a resident of Westchester. I'm also an attorney and a partner in my firm in Century City, and I come today in support of this proposal. When I read about it in a newspaper, I was so excited and thought to myself, we are finally moving in the right direction on the education issue. As many of you know, I ran for city council recently in the 11th district, and one of the best things about that experience is that I had an opportunity to meet folks every day and to find out the things that were on their minds. And as the polls show, education is at the top of the list for all Angelenos. And I stand in support with Angelenos and say it's time that our school district and our city council come together to come up with creative, unique ways to address this issue and to make sure that our children are educated. And as the gentleman said, a couple of speakers before me, that we are the second largest city in this country. We are the second largest school district. We should be setting trends. We should not be following trends. We should not be responding. We should take the lead on the education issue, and I think this is a step in the right direction, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Reddick. Our next 5 speakers are Mary Louise Longoria, Victor Franco Jr., Scott Svanken, Fidel Ramirez, and Ozzy Lopez.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Mary Louise Longoria, Commissioner for Neighborhood Empowerment and Intergroup Relations Specialist for the Los Angeles County Commission on Human Relations. This morning, I'm here as a private citizen to voice my support for the resolution that proposes the creation of a joint commission on LAUSD governance. The extensive experience that we've had with the Los Angeles Unified School District through the County Commission on Human Relations assures me that it makes perfectly good sense to rethink whether the existing LAUSD governance structure is serving present and future students. I also ask that all communities in the surrounding areas also be included, because it's about inclusiveness that this will work. Through my work with the County Commission on Human Relations, we assist local school administrators and superintendents and teachers, parents, and community members on issues of race relations, hate crime, intergroup conflict, and provide training for all those areas in order to eliminate this. I strongly urge you that you come together in terms of human relations, speak dialogue and carry this motion through.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your testimony. Mr. Franco?
Victor Franco Jr. with Central City Association. I want to thank Council President Padilla and School Board President Huizar for bringing this forward. We are in support of the motion before you. This council can approve economic development packages for developers. It can revise our archaic business tax reform system. But if we don't have a ready workforce, then our economy will go nowhere. This commission hopefully will address the education system and the way our education interacts with the governance of the city, and hopefully address the troubling issues there regarding our students and the dropout rates, and creating a better workforce-ready group of individuals. So we support this and look forward to the results from the commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Svanken.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Scott Svanken. I'm a small businessman, a father of a 4-year-old, as you can see on my tie, the son of a teacher that taught over 40 years in Los Angeles, in east of Los Angeles at Griffith Junior High. And I'm here as Vice President of B'nai B'rith to support President Padilla and President Huizar's proposal. The B'nai B'rith is the oldest, largest Jewish organization doing human rights and civil rights and housing and a number of other things. And I came here to urge this council and the school board, I now can tell, to support this measure. I want to say something that I hadn't planned on, but this should not be about who has seats, how many seats at the table. We need to make sure everybody has a seat at the table, and that we hold every member of this council and school board accountable for the success of our children. And as a father of a 4-year-old, I urge you to work together to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Fidel Ramirez.
Good morning. My name is Fidel Ramirez, and I worked as a pre-college professional for the last 10 years. But most importantly, I'm here as a parent. And I'm here to, first and foremost, commend Alex Padilla and Jose Huizar. And it's not often that I make the journey to LA, but when I heard the topic today, I made it an obligation to be here. And let me let you know that I recently heard that statement that this is a bold action. Well, when crisis, especially the crisis we're going through now, we need this type of bold action. So again, I commend those leaders and supporters of this joint commission. As a proud father of two, let me tell you that I am real concerned about what's going on in our schools. But most importantly, I'm really concerned about the hundreds and thousands of kids that we service in our district. And I'm excited to see so many parents here, because they too are asking for this initiative to go through. And hopefully you are successful and we can work together for the betterment of our students.
Thank you very much. As Ozzy Lopez comes up, I'd like to invite forward Patricia Yunus, Dr. Julia Mendoza, Bill Ring, and Aaron Pack to also join the podium. Ozzy, please.
Good morning, Council President and members of the City Council. My name is Ozzy Lopez. I am the father of 3 beautiful daughters, 2 of which attend public school with LA Unified, and the husband to a Los Angeles Unified 4th grade teacher. I am also the director of the Roybal Youth and Family Center, which is one of 9 youth and family centers in the city of Los Angeles, who focus on strengthening life skills of our youth and their families through building collaborative partnerships with various nonprofit organizations. With that said, I am here today to express my support to the resolution proposed by Council President Alex Padilla and LAUSD School Board President Jose Huizar, the creation of the Joint Commission on the creation of the Joint Commission on LAUSD governance, which will create a partnership between the LAUSD, the City of LA, and the smaller municipalities that make up our school district. It is not only important, but it is imperative that this partnership be created in an effort to establish a unified front in the uphill battle to reduce the drastic 47% high school dropout rate that we currently have. Establishing this commission will develop clear channels of communication between all involved parties, and most importantly, what I hope is the sharing of information, ideas, and policies that are done in an and that the sharing and information and policies are done in a unified and cohesive manner, which will best suit everybody involved in this process.
Thank you very much. We're going to have to ask you to close. Thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony. Patricia Yunus.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
It is my pleasure to address you all this morning on this very, very vital issue. My name is Patricia Eunice, and I come to you today not in my usual capacity as a principal of the Bridge Group, but as a vice president for the board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club of Venice. I come to you with passion and fire in my heart. Our club has grown from 500 kids to over 3,300 kids in just a few years. These kids come to learn to read, to experience technology, to learn to play on a team, to experience art, all the things that they used to learn in school. It really is unbelievable to see these kids up close and personal, who are passed from grade to grade, who really cannot read, who really cannot express themselves, who cannot play in peace with each other. They do not begin as bad kids, but as time goes on, they begin to look and act like bad kids.
Thank you.
And they become susceptible to all the bad things parents never want their kids to be.
If I can ask you to wrap up, please.
These are basics. We need to waste no more time, no more money on tests, no more money on surveys, no more money on reports. This is not rocket science. Just come down to Venice and you'll see.
Thank you very
We
much.
want to be a help, and please pass this motion.
Julie Mendoza.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Julie Mendoza, and I'm a UC Accord researcher and a contributing author of the Harvard Civil Rights Dropout Study. As the lead researcher for the WeSide Best Practices Study, I can tell you, I can speak to the importance of equity-focused partnerships and their untapped potential. Over the past year, UCLA's partnership has generated new analysis of students' persistence in the district, their access to resources and opportunities to learn, and their participation in college prep courses. I support the proposal to create a joint commission to review the governance structure. Today, there is an urgent need for more accurate information and stronger accountability systems to monitor important educational outcomes. UCLA supports the careful review of public institutions, especially when the goal is to make them more effective and equitable. I feel strongly that the process should be research-based, transparent, and provide a lot of people the opportunity for community participation. Thank you for your time and consideration.
We appreciate your testimony very much. Bill Ring.
Good morning, and thank you for your kind attention. My name is Bill Ring. I'm a parent with two children in LA Unified. I've been very active both at the central district and the local district and within my own schools as a parent advocate and an advocate for kids. I speak to you today in support of this action. I urge you to consider the importance of being thoughtful about your representation of those who are going to be sitting on this joint commission. Bob Hertzberg's comments notwithstanding, and I am in support of everything he had to say, as to whether the perfect will become the enemy of the good, where excellence is possible, good is never enough. I please ask your kind consideration to work with LA Unified and let's make something good happen. Let's be thoughtful. No power grabs, no Trojan horse.
Thank you, Mr.
Let's get this job done. The parents, the kids, and the future, indeed, of this city and the country are relying on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ring. Just before Aaron Pack speaks, I'd like to invite Becky Villaseñor, Chile Nakamura, and Bobby Arias up as well. Please, Ms. Pack.
Good morning. My name is Erin Pak. I am the CEO of a nonprofit, Korean Health Education Information and Research Center, also known as a CARE Center, providing health care and human services in the Wilshire Center area of Los Angeles. As a former high school teacher in the LA Unified and an education consultant, I'm keenly aware of the challenges that we have in educating our youth. But at the end of school year 2004, 16,129 students in the LA Unified dropped out of school. 16,000. Among grades 9 through 12 students, four-year dropout rate was 33.5%, and that number keeps increasing at an alarming rate. Councilman Weiss, at Fairfax High School in your district, Four-year dropout rate was 45.8%. Councilman Ludlow, at Los Angeles High School in your district, the four-year dropout rate was 56.3%. That's more than half of the entire student
If I
body.
can ask you to conclude, Ms. Mack.
In
Sorry.
2003, LA High alone lost 732 students. On behalf of 30,000 indigent clients we serve in the Care Center, we support the creation of this Joint Commission. We alone cannot maintain the premier city status of Los Angeles without the viable economic engine that the students will build. Thank you.
Appreciate your testimony. Becky Villaseñor.
Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
I'm here as a concerned Angelino. I applaud the school board president Huizar and council member president Padilla for their vision and optimism that's reflected in this proposal. And in the interest of continuing to improve the quality of education and accountability of LAUSD, I strongly support the formation of the Joint Commission on LAUSD governance. And as stated earlier, I would like to also encourage people to be thoughtful in their appointments to establish an effective commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you win the prize for giving the most time back. Thank you. Chile Nakamura.
Good morning, all of you guys. My name is Chile Nakamura. I'm coming from Ola Vista Middle School. Silver, I thank you to the President, Alex Padilla, and the President, Jose Luis Huizar. It's an honor for me, and I'm not going to say much of those things to being here, and I hope take in consideration. I know the needs that we need our school, but our school needs police after school hours because there's too much gangs in the parks. We need somebody to help us from LAUPD to provide more police in the area because there's fights. There's about Silmar High that has maybe about 3,500 students, Ola Vista Middle School. There's it's about 2,000 students, and in Silmar Elementary, maybe there's about 800 or 700 students. When they come, all of them at the same time, we need a lot of the supervision, and we need to take care about that to help for the safety to our children. Okay. Thank you. You guys have a good day.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, just before Bobby Arias is next, we're not quite halfway through the cards, and under consideration that today we begin our deliberations on the Los Angeles City budget. That is scheduled to begin at 1. We have a lineup of about 9 council members who wish to be heard still at about 3 minutes apiece. That's another half hour. So in the interest of time and in consultation with Mr. Padilla, we're going to call Mr. Arias and 5 more, and there will be 14 other names that will be read into the record. We'll make sure, and we appreciate everybody being here. There's nobody in opposition to this today, too, so that's good news for the folks who are wishing to be heard, and then we'll move to council debate. So Mr. Arias is our next speaker, please.
Great. I'll try to cut to the chase. My name is Bobby Arias. I'm the president of Communities and Schools. With me is Nicole Rivera and Carlos Rodriguez, who run prevention intervention programs for us. I guess what I want to say on the outset is that we see, because we work with the kids that everybody has given up on, the impact the allure of gangs and youth violence is having on our kids. What I want to say to you today is when a kid drops out of school, they do not matriculate to hope and education. They matriculate to the streets. They can become the future shooters, and they end up leading a life of despair. We have worked with 40 schools within the LA Unified School System. The schools that have worked the best have been those who have been willing to embrace the community, not serve as islands cast apart from the rest of the community. What I want to say is that there's a readiness now for our community to embrace what we're talking about here with what Martin Ludlow is doing, with the legislation we've had with JJCPA, with Tony Cardenas. Things are on a positive note. I attended 7 years ago the anniversary of Jackie Robinson, where he said, "A life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. Allow this to happen. When any of our children fail, a piece of ourselves fails." Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Dennis O'Sullivan is our next speaker, to be followed by Jose Luis Ramirez, Terry Crosswhite, and then Norma Harris for Barbara Perkins. And then our final speaker would be Candido Mares. Please.
Good morning. I want to thank you for the opportunity to appear this morning, and I want to thank both of the presidents for their foresight in this forming this commission. I was one of the commissioners on LAUSD redistricting. Some of you were here. You remember we reported back to you. What we saw when we did our community outreach then was sort of appalling. What it had come down to was basically the union against the school district. The parents, the teachers, the students really were not heard in what was happening then. Governance is the absolute correct name for this. You have two distinct things happening. You have schools and the plants of operating the schools with the budget, and then you have the ethical and moral responsibility of the education. Very simply, governance of the school should be the superintendent of schools. There should be created a superintendent of education who takes care of the intrinsics. And having worked on this before, I will again volunteer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sylvan. We appreciate your willingness to serve. Jose Luis Ramirez.
Good morning, Mr. Padilla, Mr. Wizar. I'm very grateful to you for bringing this to the City Council. I live in the Northeast Valley in the beautiful community of West Pacoima, otherwise known as Arleta, California. And I wanted to let you know that I have had, for the last 22 years, devoted my life to education as a former middle school teacher. All of these gray hairs are from my teaching years, but I loved every minute of it. And then as a community college faculty and administrator. All of you are champions of education. I basically wanted to highlight a couple of you that I know more closely. Mr. Cardenas, who is always there through the Cardenas Foundation for all of our students, particularly those who need it the most. Mr. Parks, your initiatives on education are well known even in the San Fernando Valley through Mission College students. So I'm here to support this commission, but what must the commission do? I think it has to address those big issues.
If I can ask you to
the
conclude.
tragic dropout rates and the culture of low expectations in the schools.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your testimony. Terry Crosswhite will be our next speaker.
Hi, my name is Terry Crosswhite, and I am a constituent of Alex Padilla, and I thank you so much for coming up with this proposal. I am a mother of 4, and they are in LAUSD, except for one. I'm involved with the Neighborhood Council and on the School Issues Committee, the Budget Committee. The budget, I believe that the budget of LAUSD is the prime reason that we need a governance commission. Yesterday's paper had a page where students were asked what subject they would take that is not currently offered. Many answered cooking, sewing, some astronomy, geology. These basic life skills used to be offered in school, but because of budget cuts, they are no longer available. These subjects are what kids are interested in, as well as academics, but they keep them in school. They keep them interested in being in school. Providing new schools is not enough. We need a budget that accommodates staffing, especially high school counselors, to prepare our students for the future. Charter schools are successful because they're in charge of their funds. And I hope that the commission appointees, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your presence here and appreciate the time considerations. Is this Norma Harris?
Yes.
Okay, it's for Barbara Perkins, is that right?
I am
Okay.
here for Barbara
Great,
Perkins,
thank you.
yes. Good morning,
Good morning.
members of the City Council. I am Norma Harris, a founding member of the National Council of Negro Women San Fernando Valley Section. And again, I am here at the request of Barbara Perkins, who is an educator and community leader in the 7th Council District. My presence here is the representation of our organization's support for the resolution to establish the President's Joint Commission on LAUSD Governance. As stated in the resolution, we believe this historic partnership would serve to benefit all stakeholders within the city and the school system. We believe, as you believe, that all children in the school system should be provided the greatest opportunities for success. If taking a closer look at how LAUSD is governed and offering a well-thought-out critique of processes that are dated and have room for improvement will move young people closer to a successful future, then that is precisely what we should be doing right now. There are a few suggestions made for changes in the language of the resolution when it was heard in committee. However, there were no recommendations that appeared significant enough to not move this effort forward to the implementation stage. I would like to commend the crafters of the resolution, particularly both presidents, for their leadership in this regard and for being diligent about hearing the voices of others such as parents, school board members, teachers, community members, and hopefully students.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, our next and final speaker is Candido Mares.
Norma Ramirez? No. Oh, okay.
I'll let her
You're yielding your time? Okay, will you please give us your name, too?
Okay. My name is Norma Ramirez. Good morning. I'm a community activist and the interim organizer for the Chicana chapter of NOW. I congratulate the courageous lady that spoke to us against rape. Make sure that I will take your message to all the people that I know. I had the opportunity to help organize a group of parents for 10 years. We organized ourselves to celebrate our culture, to help clean the school, and many more activities. We accomplished many beautiful things, and once we felt comfortable, we wanted to have a say in the budget process. We questioned the fact that the magnet students had more educational opportunities than those in the resident school, and when we wanted to make our school safer by denouncing a sexual predator that worked in the school, that's when hell broke loose. We were no longer welcome in the school. Shame on them. I know from experience that all the parents are interested in their children's education. We want the same quality education for all the students. Give us ownership. Let us participate in the process, and we'll be there. Create the governance commission, and we are here.
Thank you very much. That closes our public comment. I'd like to read into the record the names of the folks who came here and were unable to speak today. Candido Mares, thank you for yielding your time. That was kind of you. Vladimir Victorio, Veronica Soto, Beverly Miller, Maria Nuno, Shane Coleman, Albert Maina, Bob Focosi, Dean Cohen, Patricia Ochoa, Fred Duran, Monica Austin Jackson, Ivor Dawson, Dr. Raul Cardos, Patrice Theard, and Dana Friedlander. We thank you all for coming here, and that will close the public comment portion of this, and we will now go to council discussion. And the chair of our Education and Neighborhoods Committee will be our next speaker, Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, President Garcetti. And colleagues, I stand in absolute support of this resolution today. We want to really thank President Padilla, President Huizar, for bringing us together on this very important issue. We are all concerned about the education experience for the students in the LA Unified School District. As we've heard today, the dropout rates are too high, test scores are too low. We have to do something to make a difference. Dennis Zine and I served on the elected Charter Reform Commission in 1997, and it was a very similar climate at that point. The City of Los Angeles governance had not been looked at for 75 years, and at the time there was some fear by the current council members about this elected Charter Reform Commission and what we might come up with and how we might threaten the status quo. So in fact, they appointed their own commission to work side by side with us. But luckily, both commissions came together, and we offered what we think were some serious reforms and accountability measures that we now have in our city charter. It is great that the City of Los Angeles is partnering with the school district to reform the governance at LAUSD. I want to thank Alex for appointing me to the chair of the Education Neighborhoods Committee in the City of Los Angeles. First time in the history of LA that we've ever had a standing committee in the City Council that dealt with schools and neighborhoods. That was a first step in us really being involved with the school district. And I know that we can all say the same thing when we were campaigning for this city council seat. Door to door, on the phone, what would people ask us? What are you going to do about our schools? I care about our schools. What can the City Council do to improve the schools in Los Angeles? And here we are today doing something that ultimately will improve the schools, will improve education for our kids. It's not their kids, it's our kids. We have the same constituents in this issue. The kids who are in these school districts are our kids as well, and we care about them and their parents. You know, this is the charter in the City of Los Angeles, approved by the voters in 1999. Out of almost 150 pages of the city charter, there's only one page that it deals with the school district. It talks about the school board. It talks about their terms. It talks about their compensation. It talks about the districts, how they're elected. We did not give this the full airing that we should have on the Charter Reform Commission. This is what we will be doing today with this commission. And you know, if approved today on the City Council, I can't imagine it won't be. I know for my appointment, I'm going to look for a teacher, a principal, maybe a parent who has kids in the school district, maybe even a former student. And I would urge us all to really think clearly and honestly about who we appoint to this commission. Again, I think this is a great historic day for us. We are going to do something that may change the course, may change the future for the school district, but more importantly, for all the kids that come through this. My kids were in LA Unified School District. My brother has 2 kids who are in the system. We all have a stake in this outcome. And how many times, and I know my time's up, have we had the LA Times, the Daily News, and today the Daily Breeze came out urging us to pass this, saying it was a good idea whose time has come. I'm happy to support this.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Ms. Perry will be our next speaker, followed by Mr. Villaraigosa, Ms. Gruhl, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Cardenas, Mr. Weiss, Ms. Mizikowski, Mr. Zine, and Mr. Padilla for a second time. Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And when I depart here today, I'm actually going down to Jefferson High School to participate in an event there with the young people. And this is a great idea, but there's 2 suggestions that I have because I feel like those components are missing for all the meetings and events over the last 2 weeks at Jefferson High School. One thing rang true to me is that there was not an engagement by the administration of the students. And I'm not talking just about the track presidents and the students in leadership positions, although that's a place to start and they should be included in this effort. But I think there may be and should be a place for students who have gone through difficulties and have recovered or reclaimed their academics and their lives. And I feel that they have a very important story to tell. And I think if you really want to get to the heart of it, to have another effort that is top heavy with not only adults, but elected officials, but not people who are involved and engaged in these issues on a day-to-day basis and truly affected. A lot of the results and the resolution for whatever this commission brings will come from the homes, the parents. I was concerned as I was at Jefferson last week at the students emulating the behavior of some of the parents, and I found that very, very sad. But I saw an opportunity there, an opportunity to provide more parental support, more opportunity to provide engagement for parents so that the household can become an instrument of change and of teaching as well. And so I would suggest to you those points: parental engagement and participation on this commission, some presence not only of track presidents and leadership students, but also students who have transitioned from being students who are at risk to a level of success. I know that, I mean, plainly put, if we have just a bunch of adults talking, it may not translate into anything substantive for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Mr. Villaraigosa is our next speaker.
Yes, Mr. President, members, I'd like to acknowledge the leadership of Council President Padilla and School Board President Huizar for this very important proposal. I think this is the best way for us to proceed in a collaboration, to begin to discuss what that collaboration could look like, to address the fact that this governance issue is a very, very important issue to many people in the city. I've made my views clear. I think the mayor of the city of Los Angeles should have oversight over the school district. I think that model can work. But I also know that you don't do that by government pronouncement or edict. You do that in collaboration. You do that in a discussion and a debate. And I'm hoping that this commission, working together in collaboration, an inclusive commission that includes all of the stakeholders, that working together to come up with a model that'll work, because we can't afford anything less. I can tell you, as someone who's worked for the teachers for 8 years in classrooms in South Los Angeles, on the east side, the west, and in the valley, that we have great teachers here in the city of Los Angeles. We need to give them the training that they need, the compensation. We need to include parents. I can tell you that visiting schools, as I have over the last few weeks and over the many years that I've been involved, that they're great parents. They want a voice. Parents and teachers making decisions. When you look at successful schools are places where parents and teachers not only make decisions, but not only have a voice rather, but make decisions about how they spend money. Make decisions about what they do. A decision, for instance, about after-school programs in the afternoon, reallocating money for Saturday school, putting money together for tutorial programs to address the fact that the Leave No Child Behind initiative is forcing kids out of school, and there isn't the tutoring and the support network that they need. I'm very familiar with the challenges in these schools, the challenges of incentivizing the highly trained teachers, the most experienced teachers to the low-performing schools, the lack of funding for low-performing schools and low-achieving schools. And so this initiative on the part of Council President Padilla and WEZAR is an initiative that's been a long time coming. I thank you for your leadership, for the courage to stand up, for the courage to collaborate. I look forward to working with you in the coming months. And I also want to associate myself, though, with the points that were made by Mr. Hertzberg, my longtime friend and colleague. This commission does need to have urgency to it. It does need to have benchmarks and milestones. We don't need to study this issue for time immemorial. We need to have clear standards, milestones set for the purpose of moving this along. I'm excited about that possibility. I believe that to the extent that all of us appoint people who represent the stakeholders, and that means teachers, are critical because they, play the most important role in delivering education along with parents. Teachers, parents, administrators, people who have a stakeholder in this system, in its success, are critical. I want to stand with the two towering presidents today in support of this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa. Our next speaker is Ms. Gruhl, to be followed by Mr. Reyes and Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti, and also accolades to our colleague, President Padilla, and President Jose Huizar and Julie Kornstein for being here today. This concept we have before us today is critically important to the future of the city. And I think that, as mentioned, there's no preconceived ideas about what should happen with governance, but everything should be put on the table, just like in charter reform, just in like redistricting. And I think there were a lot of people when charter reform was started or when the redistricting commission was set up. Can they do a good job? Will they be representative? Will they have that kind of transparency? And I think we have found by experience that this type of commission can put the effort and the energy to ensure that we address an issue that is, I think, morally our responsibility, I think, as Jose mentioned. It also is about the future of the city economically. We know businesses make decisions on where they're going to locate their businesses if they're going to have a great workforce in the future. And we want to make sure that we have an A-plus workforce here in the city of Los Angeles. And I think if we can't compete with Silicon Valley, with other states, we will lose a lot here in the city of Los Angeles. And I remember when we established Los Angeles Best, LA's Best, and we went to the school district. And at the time, they said, well, you know, it's really our property. Why do you want to do this? Why should the city be interested? And we had to actually convince them that what kids did after school impacted us on a moral and ethical issue, as well as the fact that if they weren't at a school and had something to do, they were going to be out in the streets, in our parks, and potentially being involved in some of the bad things happening if they did not have a place to go. And that relationship has grown and flourished and been an excellent, I think, example of how the school district and the city of Los Angeles can work together. And so I want to thank the leadership of the school district who've said this is important. The time has come. When we walk and talk to our people in our neighborhoods, the first thing they start talking about used to be public safety, although that's still important, but it's now about education. Because they know that their kids need a good education. And as someone has mentioned by many of us, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I went to Knollwood Elementary School, Frost Junior High, and Kennedy High School, which gave me a great education, which gave me an opportunity to intern in the city of Los Angeles for the mayor while I was still in high school. And so we have to continue to give our kids opportunities, and it starts with supporting a school system that works and supporting every idea and concept that we can to say we can do better. And this partnership, I believe, is going to be successful in doing that. And with the leadership of Jose and with Alex and the rest of the school board and many of us here who have expressed our support, I know it's going to work. We all have to roll up our sleeves. We all have to sit and talk and throw everything out on the table, disagree sometimes, but we will all do it from a place in our heart that says we have to do something about education in the city of Los Angeles. So thank you again. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Our next speaker is Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. First, I rise to thank both President Padilla and WISAD for this very important step we're taking. But for the record, I just want to lay down some questions and hoping that as the process unfolds, we have some very clear answers. One is, how will the city and LAUSD benefit from participating in this process? And then that answer, we'll probably say, well, that's pretty obvious, but I'd like for it to be broken down in such a manner in which we can start talking about land use issues. Why aren't we working in a manner in which we can create new zones where we can have housing and schools perhaps on the same lot, maybe vertically, maybe not, depending on the issues. But right now in my district, I have hundreds, if not thousands of people being displaced because we're building the schools, and there's no mechanism, no real authority that says, yes, housing and schools are everyone's problem. It's been divided by the different powers that be. I do schools, you do housing. There's a veil that separates the two, and in the process it penalizes the community, and I think that's something we need to correct as soon as possible. The other question is, how will students and families benefit from the process outline? And I mentioned students and families because we know we have the interest groups that are encased within the union movement, the teachers' movements, administrators. They're all subdivided into the respective bodies, entities, but who is really representing the families and the students? So there should be a body that speaks on their behalf because of the way the process has been laid out in the past. The other is, which city department will be part of this effort? Who are we going to look to amongst all the departments to engage this issue? And last is the county. Why isn't the county part of this? We look at health. We have many children who are suffering some intolerable conditions. We are living in third world conditions in many parts of the city. Half of the communities in my district are living at or below poverty, which means they're surviving on $18,000 a year for a family of four. Now, how do we expect them to graduate if they're not eating, don't have a place to study, don't have a place to rest, and they're dealing with those pressures? And last but not least, just to echo the land use issue, right now we have a map that was written up in 1970, hand-drawn, that talks about where the traffic issues are in relation to the schools. We have a grant that was processed, I'm moving this motion to the Transportation Committee, that talks about how we start looking at the leveraging of the federal funds for transportation needs, how we relieve these conditions and establish these safe routes. Councilman Gruhl had alluded to some of these conditions outside the school, but these safe routes need to be understood. We have a map right now that talks about where the gangs are located in the city. Where's the interchange between our safe routes, our resources for the gangs, and how the schools are coordinating in their experience before and after school. Who wants to go to school when you know as you're getting there you're going to get beat up, you're going to get robbed, and in some cases, and because we've dealt with this issue today, I have on record for the past 10 years young people at the junior high stage being raped as they're crossing these lonely bridges as they go over the rivers, getting to and back to school. So we ask ourselves, why are they dropping out? Some of the very real physical issues are not being addressed because we need to connect the land use component with the siting of schools. So folks who are in this particular commission, we should have that expertise to talk about how the built-out environment can be a way to cause relief and enhance the experience so that our young people can graduate. So a lot more to be said, but I'll just stop here. Thank you so much for this step. Great step. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Our next speaker is Mr. Cardenas, to be followed by Ms. Misikowski.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm very proud to say that I'm a lifelong Angelino, and so is my wife. We're both products of the public LA Unified School District, and equally important that we're proud of is that our children attend schools in LAUSD. But I'll be honest with you, sometimes trying to assist our local campuses, working with our schools and working through the morass and all kinds of things that you deal with, it is daunting and sometimes disappointing that we can't get simple things done sometimes. But the fact of the matter is I want to thank Jose Huizar and Alex Padilla for taking this bold step, because with this comes a lot of responsibility and a lot of risk. What if we fail? What if we fail to make the moves and the motions and the things that this commission is going to come up with? What if we fail? You're taking on that responsibility, and to me, that's true leadership. So I want to thank you very much, not only for the idea, not only for moving forward with this, but for the leadership and being bold leaders and saying we're willing to take the risk because this is now going to be on our sleeve. It's going to be part of our jacket, and we are going to make a difference here. Those of us who are engineers, we often say, it's time to build a better mousetrap. And what we mean by that is, that means it's something that already exists, like the mousetrap that got invented who knows how long ago, probably the same time LAUSD was invented. It's something that exists, but now it's an opportunity to make it better. And LAUSD needs an opportunity to be a better place, a better institution, whatever the outcome of this is, better than it is today. There's a lot of teachers, administrators, board members who give their heart and soul. And sometimes, quite frankly, have shared with me, sometimes they're at their wits' end of trying to figure out how we can actually make it the place that it deserves to be. Our children deserve this commission. The people of Los Angeles deserve this commission. And better yet, we deserve a commission to be bold. We deserve a commission to be diverse. We deserve a commission that actually is going to be asking and promoting and talking about and acting on bold ways in which we need to move in the right direction. It's about time. It is overdue. And we deserve this. And we have a responsibility, every single one of us, to think very carefully about who we're going to appoint, and also give them the resources to do the job they need to do, and not hamstring them by telling them, when you're doing this on the board, don't do this, or you must do that. No, let them explore. Let them be innovative. Encourage them to be the leaders that they need to be on this commission, and then bring forth all of the good ideas that we need to promote, whether we have to go to the ballot box, whether we have to reconfigure what the LAUSD looks like, whatever it is, everything's on the table. Everything needs to be on the table. And with that, I'd like to welcome the most important constituents we have who are watching this debate, are our children. Vina Elementary School, say hello. Thank you for coming today. Congratulations, you're probably witnessing one of the most important discussions and debates about your future that perhaps has happened in the last 10 years on the floor of this city council. You're very fortunate to be here today. Hopefully, you can honestly say we were fortunate to be there on that day when the city council was bold, when the adults got real bold, and they actually did something for us and made a change so that you can have a better education, and you look back at your little brothers and sisters, and hopefully your children will have a great education as well. You deserve it. Once again, thank you to Alex and Jose for your bold leadership.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cardenas. Our next speaker is Ms. Misikowski, to be followed by Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. This really is a remarkable day, and I liked in particular Mr. Cardenas' use of the word bold, because that's what I think this is. Members, we've talked a lot about, in hindsight, looking at what we did accomplish with our charter commission, our charter commissions. But let me tell you, I was here on the day that the charter commissions were discussed around this chamber, and we had a whole lot of people, both on the city council and testifying, who said, we don't need a charter commission, we can do just fine. And in fact, some of the charter commission activities that were created where the city council did endorse the creation of a charter commission was done in opposition to then Mayor Reardon, who had initiatives and petitions circulating to create the elected charter commission process and let that go to the voters. The council, in reaction to that, then created the appointed ones. The appointed one got started first because the other one took a while to get to the ballot. What a remarkable difference today that everyone who spoke has spoken in favor of this, that we recognize the unity of purpose, the unity of mind to say, let's give it our best minds, let's give it our best ideas and see what we can come up with. I think we can come up with something in consensus that is going to be far better for the future of this city, for the future of the children of this city. And I absolutely agree with Mr. Reyes. Despite our best attempts and our best attention to use Prop K funds to work with school district, each time it's reinventing a new paradigm. We still haven't created the right paradigm relative to housing. We know we need the desperate need for schools, but we also need housing. What or how is there a right way of doing it collectively and together rather than going back and forth and reinventing it each time we try? This commission, I really, really have great hopes for, great expectations for, and I think the unanimity of purpose today speaks volumes about the recognition of the good minds that we are going to bring together to do this. So I, too, congratulate our two presidents. Something that's long, long overdue, and to take it and do it in this manner is really remarkable. And as I say, to do it without fight, without strife, and say, let's just go out there and get started is truly remarkable. So I imagine this will be a unanimous vote and really look forward to the deadlines that are set so we can make these appointments, get them started, give them the funding, the space, and the interaction that we will have from now until the point when a final report will be out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sikowski. Mr. Zine, please.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. If it's not broken, don't fix it. If it is broken, fix it. When I look at today's newspaper, students worry after school fights. When I look at what we spend on law enforcement for the school district and heard about Inglewood wanting to cut back their public safety, and we talk about the failure rate, how many students don't graduate high school, and looking at the students who were in the back of the room just a few moments ago, the sweet innocent children who go to school and want to get that education, whose parents want to get that education. And I know Community in Schools is out there trying to solve battles that take place every single day. This morning I was up at the police academy in Granada Hills, saw the young recruits, and as I was driving up there, I passed Kennedy High School. And as I passed Kennedy High School, I saw students walking in, some wearing yarmulkes, some wearing different attire, and I paused and said, what a diverse community, what a diverse city. When the school district was founded, it wasn't a diverse city. We didn't have the diversity that we have today. It hasn't kept pace. And maybe because of that, we have a failure rate that is embarrassing. This week, we acknowledged El Camino for winning the National Decathlon. Certain schools excel, other schools don't achieve success. And when we have fights and we have problems where we have to have a school police department that's the second or third largest in the state of California, just maintaining law and order at a school, that tells us that we're not doing very well. So we need to examine it. We need to come up with a governance that works. And I commend Jose and Alex for bringing this forward. It's a bold move. It's a move that is overdue. It's a move that we need to take. Again, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And if it is broken, fix it. I think everyone, parents, students, everyone will agree that it needs to be reformed, remodeled, revitalized, and show effectiveness. If we have failing students, we're going to have a failed society. And I go back to that same old statement I made many years as a law enforcement officer. You're either going to educate them or you're going to incarcerate them. I'd rather educate them because we all benefit in society. So congratulations, Jose. Congratulations, Alex. I've never seen a debate go on as long as this when there's no disagreement. No one's come up here and disagreed with it, but it shows the passion, the commitment, the concern for our youth. The fact that we in the City Council with the Board of Education are concerned. Again, there are students, there are parents, the people who put us in office and look toward us to show leadership and to make the changes that need to be made. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Councilmember Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say thank you to Alex and President Huizar for your involvement and also the whole issue of the school board. Representing a district that has, in the sense of achievement rates, not one of our schools is at citywide average. Having a high school that has not been tested in their end-of-year scoring for the last 3 years. Knowing also in a district that's lost 39% of its jobs in the last 10 years, and also, unfortunately, the recipient of the highest violence rate in the city, we're supportive of doing something about education because many of the issues that we think are significant in the 8th District all stem from a lack of education, whether we're dealing with health issues, whether we're dealing with AIDS issues, whether we're dealing with the whole dynamics of economic development. Those are very big concerns. And so I think this is a step that actually is going to bear some fruit, that we're not going to be on an issue of talking about a Band-Aid here, Band-Aid there, or a thought or process. We're actually going to be able to look at the governance, which is the major issue. And I think that bringing people together without a conclusion, because sometimes we have so many of these issues that come forward that the conclusion's already set before we get moving. Now we're saying let's open it up, let's look at it, let's come up with a process and some ideas, whether we pick from another city or another county in this state. Let's find the best way because we cannot continue at the rate that we are. I think it's a positive. We've had people already call talking about that this is a better way to do it. People are interested already in who's going to sit on that commission. So it's important that they are selected for all of the right reasons. And I'm pleased to see that the coming together of the two major organizations, City Council, and I told the President Alex Padilla I wasn't aware until this motion that the city charter actually gives the governance to the LA Unified School District. So I think that every 150 years we should probably sit down, evaluate what we're doing, and come up with maybe a better way to do it. So I just want to say congratulations, certainly support it, and I think our kids, the million kids that go to the regular school, the adult school, the preschool, will all benefit from this effort. So thank you for that effort.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. Mr. Ludlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to rise and say great work. I support it. It's a great idea. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Make the shortest speech possible.
You're close on the shortest speech, Mr. Ludlow. The shortest one was by William Mulholland when he said, "There it is, take it," on the dedication of the aqueduct. Mr. Garcetti, please.
That's the shortest one.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you. I think most has been said already. I want to thank Mr. Huizar. I want to thank Ms. Kornstein for being here and sitting through the entire thing as well. Somebody who gets plenty of time in meetings like this. It says a lot about your convictions that you've stayed here throughout. And I want to thank Mr. Padilla for launching this forward as well. And, you know, it's one of these rare moments where people come across party lines, come across our bureaucratic silos to say that there's a common good here, that far outweighs the way that we think and the way that we interact with one another. And this has happened in subtle ways before we were here today. Joint use agreements, which were immensely difficult things for the school district and the city to do in the past, not just with LA's Best, like Ms. Gruhl talked about, but things like sports fields, which we've started to do, or library and community centers, which we now have begun to do. You can think of all that we went through in Mount Washington to be able to create, for the first time, a community center there and a place for kids to be able to meet instead of having to meet in the hallway as the place that they would. Those baby steps give us confidence that we actually can act well together, that people aren't territorial, and that we're sick and tired of the status quo. And I see regardless of disagreements that board members may have sometimes with each other, disagreements we may have here with one another, unanimity on this. And I think that's a tremendously hopeful step for all of us, that finally the kids that are being lost in this city, and you can cut it up by geography, you can cut it up by ethnicity, you can cut it up however you want, but we simply are losing kids. That study that the Workforce Investment Board did of children here between 16 and 21, the hundreds of thousands of kids that are lost. They're not in a job and they're not in school. They're just lost. That what we do and how we comprise this, and I think one of the most powerful things I heard Ms. Hahn talk about, a couple other people, is making sure that we have a couple students that are on there as well to be able to articulate their voice. So often adults and policymakers make policy on kids, for kids, instead of with them. And there's a lot of knowledge there with the youth of LAUSD. So I'm really excited about this step. I very much look forward to working closely and to creating something that I think will be an example, not just for LAUSD and the city to do together, but imagine then in the future if we got our Workforce Investment Board and our community colleges to begin to integrate our policy. Imagine if we took our community colleges and our CSUs and our UCs to begin to act together. We need these sorts of joint authorities. We need more unanimity in our government and more of government coming together, not separating us. And so this is a bold step forward, and I'm glad that everybody is for this. And thank you to everybody for your patience and your participation and your heart putting that out there today. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Labange, who will be followed on by Mr. Padilla to close.
Thank you very much, Ms. Misikowski, and thank you. It's a very important day, and I appreciate all who've had efforts, Mr. Huizar, Mr. Padilla, to do this, and Ms. Kornstein, for your comment and your years of fighting. First thing, I think school board members should be compensated greater for the time they put in. I just wanted to say that. Put it right out there, because I think it's very important. Second, I also, in the governance, they should look at expanding it, so I appreciated the representatives from Southeast Los Angeles County, which is the most densely populated part of our region, and to give them a voice, and maybe some, instead of 7, 9, or some number, but put that all on the table. The next thing, I don't think any politician should be on the commission. I really don't. There may be another subcommittee that has politicians or former politicians to help in some way there, but I think it comes a little easier when it's just people, whether it's the parents, whether it's the teachers, whether it's the principals, whether it's the students. I just don't think politicians should be on these boards in that way. But I think it will be up to the committee to decide, or does this, could we make an amendment to that, or how would we do that, or what, we'll address it a little later. I think the one thing too, a message we would say, the first thing we've got to say, it all starts at home. It absolutely all starts at home. I have a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old, and because of taking the time, my wife, much more than I, my wife Bridget, but our children read well because they took the time at earlier age. And I know we got to find that time because it all starts at home, because all too often sometimes an entity like a district gets the situation without getting the guidance from home. That really happens. I ran into my old college counselor the other day, Mr. Clayton Finstead at Marshall High School. I said, Clayton, what happened when we went to Marshall? There were 725 students who graduated in our class. How many dropped out? He said about 17 or 18, and it was not that big a number in 1971. Now that same reference, and I don't know exactly what my dropout rate as my old high school is, but I'm sure it could be hundreds of young people who fail before they finish that time. That is actually critical, that the bleeding is taking place there, and we have to find a way to stop that. The interaction between our two entities is so important. When Wendy mentioned the after-school program, that was Tom Bradley's initiative, that he used CRA funds because you started to close after-school programs, and that was the start. And I know recently you're charging higher rates for using public facilities at schools. That's a challenge that you have. There's ways we could work it. I know all this is so important. And it's so important that we take time to look at this in the same way they did the charter. So I just wanted to thank everybody that absolutely has been involved, and know that it starts at home, but we have to find a way to improve it. And building schools are so important. Yes, it does displace people, but look at how many people it did displace in their educational opportunity because there wasn't a school in their local neighborhood. And I also want to thank Kathleen Brown, a former colleague of yours on the school board, who had the first hearing years ago when I worked for John Ferraro at Union Avenue School on overcrowding of the school, and that's about 1980, 81, 82 or something. It's taken that long to finally do something. You're doing something now, which is so important. You're building schools that are making a difference. Now we've got to help out in that way. Last thing, Community College District. Work with them. Yeah, I know you had an initiative to try to help all young people go to college, but it's not just college. It's also trades and education and how to be skilled and how to learn and how to be open. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for what you do every day. And thank you both. And it's good to see, I don't know, what high school did you go to, Ms. Kornstein? L.A. Roman. Roman. Jose, you went to Roosevelt? What? Salesian. That's okay. It's good that sometimes Catholic school guys come back and help. Salesian's a great school. Okay. 8th grade. That's okay. That's all right. You can go to all my brothers went to Loyola. Jose, all my brothers went to Loyola, but I didn't have the grades to go to Loyola, so.
Mr. Padilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I believe this is to close.
Correct. I just got to correct this for the record. 2 of my brothers went to Loyola, but 5 of us, 7 of us, 6 of us went to public schools. I had to make the correction. I apologize.
The shortest speech, Mr. Padilla.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Marshall High School, Tom LaBonge, and colleagues, to close. First of all, let me just say I very, very much appreciate your kind words, your words of support on the item before us today. I can't explain just how much it means to me because of how important this issue is and what doing something to improve the education of our kids means to me as well. I wanted to begin with just saying there is a substitute resolution that's been circulated. The resolution that came out of committee was a draft that inadvertently left out some of the whereas language that is important to set the proper tone for this conversation and this process that had been shared with some of the school board members. So we've put that back in so the substitute resolution takes that into account. And I want to call your attention to that. Number 2, just for clarification, when we talk about the composition of the proposed commission, we're talking about an appointment for every single member of the City Council for a total of 15, 1 for every single board member at LAUSD for an additional 7, 1 for the mayor. So I want to be clear on that front. The City Attorney asked me to clarify that language. And also to be clear, we had, the resolution says we've taken the non-Los Angeles cities served by the LAUSD and put them into 3 clusters with the people coming together to agree on 1 representative each. So these 3 cities don't get a total of 3. 3 cities have to agree on one representative for those groups. I wanted to offer an amendment on the configuration issue. You've heard nothing but support today for this process, nothing but a commitment and an urgency for going through this process. But we've also heard a little bit of concern from our colleagues on the school district that they feel there's too much of an imbalance here. And so we've also heard from the non-LA cities, particularly the Southeast cities with the largest cluster and concentration of students outside the city of Los Angeles. I wanted to amend the proposed configuration to include 4 additional appointments. 1 for the Southeast cities, so those 6 cities come together for 2 representatives. 1 additional appointment for the mayor of Los Angeles. Again, previous iterations of commissions through this body have allowed for, an additional representative for the mayor and 1 for each council member, and an additional 2 for the school board. And specifically, 1 additional for the president of the board, 1 additional for the vice president of the board. They have a leadership structure there as well. As has been said by others, more important than the specific configuration of this commission, and I do this in good faith to sort of meet you halfway. I hope it's enough. It may not be. I recognize that. But more important than the final configuration of this commission, the thing that will most determine the success of this commission is the quality and the caliber of people whom we appoint. That is very clear. And there's people here who have advocated to make sure there's parents and there's students and there's teachers on the commission. Folks, it's incumbent upon us, the perspective that we most value to be represented on this commission, to use our appointments accordingly. And so we all have a responsibility to do that. Finally, to address the issue of a time frame and an urgency and milestones that were raised by a couple of speakers, the resolution before you does state the following. Upon approval of this resolution, and a signature by the mayor, we begin a 31-day clock. We all get 1 month to make our appointment, and that's it. This process can be up and running by June. Second, we've given an initial time frame for a report to come back to the council, to the school district, to others by January. We're talking about a 6 to 7 month time frame. Some people have said that's too long. Some people have said that's not long enough because it's a complex organization we're trying to dissect here. So I think it's realistic. I think it is aggressive but manageable. And by then we'll know whether they're making real progress or not. It may not be the last report. It'll be the first report. And by then it'll determine, are there recommendations that the school district can implement on their own, either administratively or by a vote of the board? Are there things that are going to be a potential changes to our charter, and we have to look at the June 2006 ballot, possibly? Are there recommendations that could require a change in state law, in which case January is early enough in the legislative calendar for us to go to Sacramento and seek some champions? So there is that time frame built in. I just wanted to call your attention to that. And again, more than anything else, thank you for your support and your kind words thus far, and ask for your aye vote.
All right, members, that concludes our hearing and discussion on this matter. The matter is now before us as recommended by Mr. Padilla with a substitute resolution and configuration. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved unanimously. We will send that on to the mayor. Congratulations.
Thank you. If I may, Madam Chair, again, thank you all very much. I'd ask this matter be sent forthwith, but I do have a short list of thank yous that I think are very much in order. First, to my colleagues on the council, Janice Hahn, Bernard Parks for seconding the motion. Janice as chair of the Education Committee, Bernard not only as a colleague but as a former chief of police who has spoken very articulately about the relationship between quality schools and public safety in our city. I want to thank the mayor who earlier today released a letter stating his support of this process. Jose, I'm so proud of you and the other board members who were willing to stand up and say, we need this process. It's an acceptance. It's a recognition of the challenge. It's an acceptance of the responsibility. And we as a body look forward to working with all of you on doing what's best for LAUSD and all the kids in all those classrooms. I want to thank an outside attorney, Steve Kaufman, who helped with some of the original legal research that helped get us to this day. Councilmember Misikowski, who sat with me just this last Saturday on her spare time with a meeting of school board members, council members, non-LA representatives as we're trying to navigate through some of these concerns. Governor Romer, who's the superintendent of LAUSD and has embraced this as a process for meaningful change. The staff in my office, who's done a tremendous job of helping me reach out to leaders throughout my district and throughout the city on this issue. Ruben, Edgar, Akle, my brother, Dan, Felipe, Caim, Robert, Bill, everybody in my office. Thank you so much. And the public who was here today, who took their time to be here on this important issue. To the teachers and the parents of LA Unified, yes, you have an important role to play too. We're asking for your commitment. We thank you for your support and your dedication to our kids. And last but not least, to my sister Julie, who's in the classrooms, who gives me the stories from the front lines, her friends, my friends, so many other teachers working hard day in and day out. I haven't forgotten what you've shared with me. Today is just the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. We will send that forthwith. And Madam Clerk, what remains on the desk?
Next item, Madam President, is item number 49, and that was called special by Councilmember Hahn.
Ms. Hahn, item 49.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, this is a motion which will increase the fines for commercial trucks which drive illegally on our streets. As you know, since I got elected, one of my biggest concerns, particularly in Wilmington, was these major commercial trucks going to and from the Port of Los Angeles who drive on streets that they shouldn't be driving on. And they drive in front of schools, and they drive in front of houses, and they drive in front of parks where our kids are playing. And they barrel down these roads trying to get to the port in a timely manner. The problem is when they have been caught and convicted, the fine has only been $50. Well, most of these truckers probably feel like that's just a cost of doing business. And a $50 fine versus getting to and from the port earlier to drop off their loads or pick up their loads was just inconsequential. So this will increase the fines to a minimum, and I'm going to make this a verbal amendment on this, that we make the first two offenses a minimum of $250, and the third offense should be increased to a minimum of $1,000. I also propose to make the first two offenses infractions so that they're easier to prosecute and easier to enforce than misdemeanors. Just to let you know, the port growth is going to triple in 20 years. By the port's own traffic studies, they project that we will go from 40,000 truck trips per day to over 121,000 truck trips per day in and around the port complex. Colleagues, this is something I think will make a difference. It is a public safety issue, and these trucks put our kids in jeopardy every day. They ruin our roads. Sometimes they drive over sidewalks in Wilmington and crack the sidewalk. So I know that the Port of Los Angeles is an economic engine. I know that like 1 out of 7 jobs is related to the Port of Los Angeles. I know that like $2 billion a day to our national economy comes from the port complex. But I need to find a way to separate what's going on in the international trade industry with people's quality of life who happen to live in Wilmington and San Pedro. I hope you'll support me on this. I think this will make a difference. I have support from law enforcement on this. I know our port police, our highway patrol have done everything they can, but at the end of the day, if someone just has to pay $50 for a fine, it's not going to keep them from barreling down our private streets. Let's do this. Let's take a stand for our neighborhoods. I hope you'll support me in this motion. Thanks.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. I totally support this measure. I can remember years ago working on a motorcycle detail, 80.36.1 LAMC, which is the restriction of commercial vehicles over 6,000 pounds to residential areas, clearly posted, and the fine obviously hasn't been changed in many, many years. The California Vehicle Code governs vehicles, et cetera, but when it comes to local jurisdiction, we do have that authority. It's a wonderful measure. It'll get their attention. As you say, $50 to them is nothing. This will get their attention, and the adequate postings are there. They just disregard. The enforcement can take place. You can bring peace and tranquility to your neighborhoods. This will be a citywide ordinance change as far as the fine structure goes, and I think it's long overdue. Thank you for bringing that forward.
All right, this matter and recommendation as verbally amended by Ms. Hahn is before us. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is also approved. We will send that forthwith. Madam Clerk, what remains?
Next item, Madam President, item number 55, that was called special for Councilmember Villaraigosa. However, a substitute motion has been distributed to the council members, and council can vote on what's before them.
All right, 54 is before us with the substitute motion. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10
That is-
ayes.
That is approved.
Next item is item number 59, and that was called special by Councilmember Zine. It's a finding of public convenience or necessity in Council District 3.
Thank you. Matters have been resolved. I will request approval.
All right, we can move a motion to approve the finding. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That's also approved.
Madam President, do you wish to clear the desk before going into closed
Yes,
session?
let's clear the desk and prepare to go into closed session, but let's clear the desk first.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
There is an excuse on the desk. Councilmember Weiss requests to be excused Wednesday, May 4th for city business, and also on Wednesday, May 25th to leave at 11:30 for city business. Those both meet council policy.
Mr. Weiss is excused on both those dates.
And that clears the desk for closed session.
All right, I am going to, we've got a number of people in the audience. I'm going to ask that we, yes, Mr. City Attorney?
Hey.
The City Attorney's.
Excuse me, Madam. Item number 57, is, we're requesting to be withdrawn because there's been a change in the litigation status.
All right, so 57, we don't need to discuss that, just leaves one item then in closed session.
Yes, and that's just a report from the Bureau of Sanitation.
Mr. Parks.
Madam President, just like to make one announcement. We have so many people waiting for Budget and Finance. If we can just schedule a half hour after this meeting ends.
All right, for all those who are in the audience, we are going to, we have one more item to deal with that we have to deal in closed session, so I'm going to ask the room be cleared. But everyone who wants to come back for Budget and Finance, it will begin a half hour after our session adjourns. So could I please ask everyone to clear the room? We have to go into executive session. Mr. Labange, we have to clear the room. All right, we are now back in public session. Are there any announcements, members? No announcements today? Any adjourning? Oh, Mr. Labange.
Yeah, their city clerk reminded us that May 2nd is the last day to register to vote. Anybody wants to register to be eligible for the May 17th election. I saw that in today's mail, so I just want to remind everybody out there to make sure everybody register to vote and vote.
Any other announcements? Mr. Parks has already announced Budget and Finance Committee beginning on the budget will begin a half hour after we adjourn. Are there adjourning motions, members? Mr. Parks, did you have? Would everyone please rise for adjourning tributes? Let me recognize Mr. Parks.
I have two adjourning motions. I ask that we adjourn in memory of Cameron David Hill. Was born to Kenneth and Gloria Hill June 26, 1957. Educated at Mary Clay School and then later Windsor Hills School and on to John Burroughs Junior High School. He had a love for music, a variety of music. He also played drums for Fairfax High School and also in the LA marching band. He was 7 years old, his first YMCA camp experience. He also later became employed with YMCA and worked for Fred Kennedy as an assistant at a traffic school. He then had course related to hotel and travel industry at Valley College and Long Beach City College, and eventually worked for several hotels in the area. He passed away at the age of 47 on Sunday, April 10th. A funeral service to be held at Angelus Funeral Home on April 15th. He leaves a host of relatives. Our second adjourning motion would be Myron William McDaniels. Was born in Los Angeles on December 17, 1983. Passed away at just the age of 21 on March 29, 2005. He attended St. Cecilia's Elementary School and Holy Cross Middle School and attained his diploma from Crenshaw High School. He went on later to pursue education at West LA Community College and Brooks College of Long Beach. He leaves a host of family relatives.
Mr. Stein.
Madam President, request for adjournment in memory of Roger Ramirez, passed away April 23rd. Roger Ramirez was born May 24th, 1987 in Northridge. His life was cut short tragically at the age of 17 on April 23rd when he was shot several times in the chest by a gang member at a quinceanera party in Reseda. Roger was a resident of Reseda his entire life. He had previously been a student at Grover Cleveland High School, was attending Kennedy Continuation High School, where he was expected to graduate this year in June. He will be greatly missed by his family and friends. Survived by his father, Jose Romero, his mother, Elvia Romero, siblings Raul Gonzalez, Raymond Gonzalez, Alfredo Gonzalez, Bianca Romero, Melissa Romero, Jose Romero Jr. May Roger Ramirez rest in peace.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll. We are adjourned.